Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Matt and Dan. We're back from the holidays. We had a little extended break here, so we've all had some time to play some stuff. I'm going to kick it off with two games that I gave up on. The first one is Evil, for different reasons. The first one is Evil West. The checkpoint system is so bad. I had a situation where I fought my way up to a boss. Boss is kind of challenging, and I'm playing on like whatever the normal difficulty is. So I'm not even playing the hardest difficulty, but I died. That resulted in like 20 minutes of lost time, and I can't do this. So I shelved that. I'll go back to it. Like maybe they'll patch that. I don't know. I don't know if they care. It's not a bad game. It doesn't run bad or anything like that. It's just that checkpoint system is whack, and I was not in the mood for that.
And there's no like manual save like right before it.
No,
right? Oh
no.
Oof.
That's why I said the first time when I played a little bit, I told you like that's the one like real PS2 era part of that game is like there's no manual save system.
That's
which
awful.
Is trash. Like yeah. Otherwise, it's not a bad game. So then I switched over. I thought, well, I'll finish the Callisto Protocol because Dead Space is out in a couple weeks, and I should probably get that one done.
Yeah.
And I got to a extremely punishing part that broke me on that game with its bad melee system, which we've talked about.
The Fight Night
melee system. I had to take on 3 enemies at once with like maybe 5 bullets, and then I have to do melee.
Oh boy!
And it's almost impossible. It's to the point where like I would have to probably restart the game. And so that's where I've only played like an hour of it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shelf this. And if I ever want to play it again, I will restart it. So it's not a bad game. Like it's a visually stunning game, but I just didn't feel like restarting it right now.
Yeah, I hate when that happens in games where you get to a point where you screwed yourself. Like,
and I also was like, like I'm in the mood for this type of game, but the Dead Space remake's out in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna play that day one. So yeah, because it's a big game for me. So we'll jump over to
shelve it till October, and you can replay it during Spooky Month.
So there you go. So we'll jump over to one of my favorite games I played during the holiday break, which is Police Simulator Patrol Officers. Which I originally bought this to play with a friend on Steam. And so I bought us each copies of it. We to the date of recording this podcast, we have not actually played together.
Of course not.
But I looked it up because I played like 3 nights in a row. Like I get done with work or whatever. And then I was like, I'm going to play around to this and I'll do something. The more and more I enjoyed it, I'm like, let's see how bad like the console version of this is. So I looked up a couple videos. It runs flawlessly, like just as good as the PC version if you have a next gen system, or I should say current gen system. So I bought it on the Xbox and I played a lot of it. It is when you start the game, you're very limited. You're just a patrol officer. You're stopping people from jaywalking. You're stopping like very stupid things. And then as you arrest more people or give out more tickets, you start to unlock more things. Like I'm to the point now where I'm a patrol officer. I can run around. I can stop people for speeding. You do a lot of accident cleanups. My favorite is like if you get a runner, you can totally tase them.
Okay.
I've done that twice now. Like you might, like for example, like you might go, like let's say there's an accident, you get the call, like okay, I'll take the call. You drive over there, you start interviewing the person, and then it's like, okay, go stand on the sidewalk. I got to search your car. And they're like, oh shit, and they just fucking start running. It's like, oh no, he's the dude. And then you go tase him, and it's like, okay, he's got drugs, or sometimes you'll find like they'll have like weapons or like human teeth and shit in their
human
pockets.
teeth.
Like, what? Yeah, it's like, what's this dude doing? Yeah.
Is there some kind of like hidden serial killer part of this game or something?
You can test them for that would be really cool.
That'd be neat.
You can test them for obviously DUIs or also like if they've done any kind of drugs and stuff like that. Like they said, the jaywalking thing, it's fun too, because like if you decide to give the person a ticket, you know, they can get pissed off, like, oh, it's too much money, you know, and that kind of stuff. Again, it can get a little redundant for sure. And again, it's not a high budget game, so you'll hear a lot of the same voice acting, because it's like they probably had like 2 or 3 people that do all the voices.
Sure, yeah.
I wish I could speak to the co-op part of it, because I'm sure that's fantastic, but I haven't tried. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks I'll get to try that and I'll be able to talk to it.
Do you have like a gun in the game? Can you shoot people in the game?
So this is the thing that you'll see reviews about.
Okay.
If you pull out your gun and you fire it like once or twice, it ends your shift and then it's like you're fired. And you have to start the day over.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, so you can't really shoot your gun. I mean, later you probably, if you get into a shootout or something, which I'm sure, I assume that you get to that point. Sure,
yeah, because it kind of seems like, why give you a gun if you'll literally never be able to use it, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, should we have a game where you're a cop shooting guns at people? Maybe not. Yeah,
the other thing that they do, which I think is smart given what the subject matter of the game is, you cannot create your own character.
Okay, good.
It is predefined. Like there's 4 different officers and they're all different races and whatever. Sure. So it's not like you can't just, you know, do what you think people would probably be doing.
Well, I mean, like there already is kind of a world where that exists, where if you do that like GTA roleplay server stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a GTA
that game exists if you want to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is more, I think, like just in the simulator line of games.
It's a simulator, so it's trying to be realistic.
Yeah.
I want to play the firefighter one, because I've heard that one's even better.
I definitely want to play that one, especially co-op. That game looks super fun. Co-op.
That looks really cool.
I'm waiting for on somebody.
That's
doing
a wait for a sale game, but I want to try that one.
It's on my wish list. So. I'm trying to get.
I'm not gonna lie. Gas station simulator is the one I'm aiming for.
Yeah, I have that on Steam and I need to try it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the police game, it's fun.
I love all that stupid stuff. I played the lawnmower simulator one. Like, you just want to chill out for an hour and a half? Sure, man. I'll mow some lawns.
Then for whatever reason, I decided to go back because I never really gave it a chance. Fallout Shelter.
Oh,
and I've just been messing around with that. It's great. Yeah, exactly. It's a good, like, I'll turn on my system. Yeah, I'll turn on my system. I'll play a couple of rounds of that, and then I'll move on to whatever I'm currently playing.
Yeah, it's good for that. Let it run. Like that game is surprisingly deep for what it is too. When
it's very deep.
The farther you get, like the quest system and like the weapon system and everything is insane.
Exactly. Like it's really good.
Yeah. I it was on when they put it on PlayStation. I downloaded it and I would boot it up every day and do kind of like the stuff you had to do for the day and do the quest and everything. And then eventually I worked on it and got the platinum in it, which just takes a while because you're limited to how much you can do. Like in a
exactly.
Really good game.
So then I was like, all right, and I had in my back of my mind, I was like, I want to do Star Ocean next. So I did install and I played like, the beginning area, basically the demo part of the game. And then I realized, I'm like, man, there's one big game that I want to play before I do my Game of the Year stuff for my YouTube channel. And if I would have thought of it before I put Star Ocean, I would have even installed it yet. And that is Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah.
So I've been playing a lot of Sonic Frontiers. It is fantastic. It is probably the best Sonic game, I'd say since Generations. I think that was the last like really good one that people liked, right? I'm in and out on Sonic. I mean, there's Sonic Mania, but I'm talking 3D.
Mania. So. I mean, Mania was really good, but that's a 2D game. This last 3D one, I would probably say Generations was the last one I thought was
okay. That was a really good one.
Good,
and that's like a decade.
Color. I mean, and then Colors was pretty good.
I have that remake. I
didn't. I didn't play the reboot of that, but and then before that, it was like Sonic Heroes. So yeah, it's been
you're going
real hit or miss. Yeah.
This is good. This is like basically what I'd say is Sonic Team saw a lot of what was done in Breath of the Wild and made like what I'd almost say is an abbreviated version of that.
Sure.
So it's not like it's not huge like Breath of the Wild, but basically like Sonic and Tails and Amy and all those people are sucked into this like world they're not sure of, and then it is broken down by like there are different things you can go do. In there's separate islands and there's different areas in this open world you can explore, and then there are actual levels that play like classic Sonic levels. Some of them are in 3D, some of them play like a side scroller
Sure.
So, and you unlock keys to unlock other stuff in the overworld, and then each character is kind of trapped now. You have to unlock their memories to unlock that character. So, like right now, I'm working on Amy. And then there's also like in the overworld, there's like different bosses and stuff that remind me of like Breath of the Wild. Like you'll run up to them and it's like, here's this named boss that you have to take on.
That's
and
cool.
They'll all respawn and stuff too. The music's fantastic, as you expect. Like when you play those classic Sonic levels, it reminds me of like Sonic Adventure type music.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the overworld really just feels like Breath of the Wild music.
Just kind of like a chill background vibe.
Like a chill background vibe. Yeah, exactly. It's really good. Like I'm not the biggest Sonic fan or anything, but I heard a lot. There's a lot of positive stuff around it before it came out, and then obviously it went on sale really, really fast. So
well, I was going to.
I picked up.
We talked about it before. Where like Sonic games are never going to end. Like that's not going to stop. But
it's not going to stop. It's the kind of thing where like I think if this game didn't do as well as it did, they'd probably go back to the drawing board,
do something
and try
else.
Something else.
Yeah.
This obviously has been very successful, so you'll probably get a Frontiers too.
Something more like this than anything else. Tell me more about Biggs the cat. What's he up to?
Biggs the cat is in the game, and he does like a fishing minigame.
Oh, weird.
So like and the best part about it is like he's actually not one of the characters that's like trapped where you have to unlock him. You just get into some portal and all of a sudden you're teleported to like some pond where he's hanging out, and you're kind of like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just fishing. You want to fish with me? And literally you just do some fishing with him. Whatever kind of fish you capture, you give to him to unlock different items for the game. Which is pretty cool. But yeah, he's literally just hanging out. He doesn't even know what the fuck's going on.
Oh, of course,
he's literally just hanging out like,
like
there's this.
He's like a homeless
like,
person.
Yeah.
He's just
exactly. Because I think even Sonic asked, like, do you know what's going on? Not really, but I'm fishing. Like, so it's pretty good. But yeah, I've had a blast playing it. It's really, really good. It's like a really good Sonic game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I got an Amazon gift card for Christmas I haven't spent yet, so, and that's calling my name because it's still $40. So
that's good. Yeah, for $30-$40 range, I say is absolutely the right price for it. So, and then I decided, and I started a little bit of this. I got two things left. I started a replay of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, just because I want to get ready for the new one.
Mm-hmm.
What is cool is they did a Series X and a PS5 update for this game for free. It looks fantastic. Like I forgot how good the game looked when I played it a couple years ago. It looks even better now. So, and it runs perfectly. There's no hiccups with frame rate or anything like that. It's just a fantastic Star Wars game. And then the last game that I played actually beat, and this will lead into Max. I know you played it. I think you beat it as well. I finished High on Life. I'll be honest, like if I had beaten High on Life before we did our game of the year stuff, it probably would have been on my list. I enjoyed it that much.
Wow.
It's surprisingly consistently funny.
Well,
which is hard to do for a video game.
Keep it in mind for this year, but we'll talk about it later, but this is a big,
exactly.
It's a big year for stuff though, man. So
it's a huge year for stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed every aspect of it. It reminded me of the original Xbox days where you got all these weird exclusives where they actually seemed like they gave developers the opportunity to just, hey, go make whatever the fuck you want. We'll put it on the system and see if it sells. And that's kind of the feel I get with this game. Like it's incredibly unique. I think I read the other day, it is going to stay exclusive to Xbox and PC. It's not coming to PlayStation or Nintendo, which is interesting. I think Microsoft actually paid some money for development.
Okay, I wouldn't be surprised.
Just really enjoy, like from beginning to end, just really enjoyable. I mean, some of the humor can definitely wear on you I'm not really into the Rick and Morty style humor, but a lot of it is surprisingly funny. My favorite gun in the game is the one that's voiced by JB Smoove. Every time I use him, he's incredibly funny. But and the other thing that I'll give a very mild spoiler, but so many people played this game, they probably know at this point. The final gun that you get has like they screwed up his brain. His name is legitimately, and it's spelled weird, spelled like in a French way. His name is spelled "Let's Do It," like "Les Do It," And that's all he says the entire time.
Oh Lord!
So like when the gun reloads, like it's like a BFG. That's the gun, right?
Oh, okay.
So when you shoot it, kills a bunch of people, and then when it reloads, he'd be like, "Let's do it!" And that's how he says it the entire time. And like that entire end sequence when you're using it, I just lost it the entire time because it's just you blowing up a bunch of these aliens and him going, "Let's do it!" like the whole time. It's fantastic. So it's a hell of a good video game. So I highly recommend it. With that, I'll kick it over to you, Matt. You finished it as well.
Yeah, so I finished it. I agree. I think it actually was a pretty good game. It did stay entertaining. I almost lost interest in the very beginning, to be honest with you. The constant talking kind of almost ruined it for me. But I was like, you know what? Nah, man, we've already got it through this far. Let's just keep going. And by the end, I had had a fun time. I can definitely say it was a fun game for last year. As far as when it came out, for me, Let's Do It really creeped me out. I'm not even gonna lie. Like fucking,
his face is fucked up too. Yeah,
it was like, his eyes, man. Like I know you had to use him the entire last scene of the game, and I was gun ho for that, but he creeped me the fuck out. I'm not even gonna lie. And like every time let's do it, like I was just like, bro, I was like, I almost had to stop a couple of times because I was just like, dude, this dude is too creepy.
Well, it's like I knew about that before I got to that part because I'd actually seen my girlfriend. She flew through the game. Like that was her. She saw that back at like whatever E3, non E3, and was like, "That's the game I want to play this year." And so I had seen most every part of this game before I actually finished it, but I knew about that part of it because I was even snickering like in the other room when I would hear that gun go, "Let's do it." I was like, "That's going to be a good part of that game." So.
But all in all, I think it was very fun, very entertaining for kind of like a game that you don't really have to take serious. It was just fun.
Not at all.
Yeah. So I had a good time with it. I definitely deleted it as soon as I was done, and but I mean, it was a lot of fun.
A great Game Pass game is what I would say.
For sure. Yeah, totally. I then also played a good chunk of Vampire Survivors.
I know the DLC
came out. Yeah. And so I started working through it more because I was like, all right, we need to get through this. But it's a lot. I still love that game.
I still love it too.
For fucking like $3-4. It was crazy. It's such a crazy buy and such a crazy price range for a game that's still entertaining. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I did also touch and start playing some of Scorn.
Okay.
The problem I had with it is it does not have a regeneration period. So like you have a life bar and like maybe it's because of where I'm at. I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't regenerate, doesn't come back. It's like I'm also stuck at this part where I'm right about to fight like a little monster thing, but because my health is so low, it literally one hits me and I'm dead. And so
if
I'm just
at this point. If
you die
and reload, does it boost your health, or you're just back where you were before?
No, you're back where you're at.
Okay, yeah, I can see that being that.
But the downfall is like I said though, because before you get to that point, you have to fight 2 or 3 other little monsters, and you don't have like right now where I'm at. You don't have a gun. You've got that hydraulic pump type thing, and you're like it reloads real, like it just takes its time, and so you can't like rapid fire it. It's a weird fucking part. So I shelved it for a little while, and I was like, maybe I'll come back to it after I've like gone through a couple other things. But I was like, I'm at a point now where I just can't deal with it. But then after I did that, I told myself I needed to actually start playing a game that was somewhat serious. So I picked up Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I caught that, honestly, man, I caught that on sale like 2 years ago. I think the deluxe edition was like 110 and I got it for $20.
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot be mad at this price range.
No.
So like it's been downloaded ever since I bought it and I've not touched it. And I was like, wow, like you really need to do better in your life. So I have now devoted a good chunk of my time to playing that. And so I like it. I'm enjoying it, but it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game.
Not at all.
And I
it
think
kind of
that's
feels like its own thing.
Yeah, and I think that's my one downfall because like
Okay.
I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed, like the creeping around a thing and like the ability to jump off stuff and land in the hay and you like or like in the
There's
big
some of that, but they've gotten away from a
it's
lot
not
of the
like
stealth
that
aspects.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things that they're bringing back with, I think, the next one that they've been talking about.
So I'm definitely I think I'm gonna skip once I get done and through Odyssey. I think I'm gonna skip Valhalla because I don't think I'm interested in that one.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just gonna wait for Mirage to come out and come on sale and maybe catch like the DLC and stuff at a different price range because I love Assassin's Creed. Like 1 through 3 was fantastic for me, and like I played and beat all of those games. I think I've played and beat everything up until Black Flag.
So you haven't played Black Flag?
No, I did play through some of Black Flag. I just never actually beat it.
Yeah,
I did too. I thought it was actually a lot of fun too, but I stopped really getting into them after that because it kind of felt more repetitive at that point.
They did.
The series is super hit or miss, like over time.
Yeah,
after like Black Flag,
just in general,
because you had
like,
the co-op.
It's all over the place. It's weird. Like
it felt more like a sports game. You know
Syndicate.
how like afterwards you're just like playing the exact same thing, and
Unity
I was like, I'm just not feeling it. Yeah,
you played Unity.
That was horrible.
I played a lot of that for some reason.
I have I actually own Syndicate.
It turned me off of Syndicate. I never even played it.
And then they went underground, and then they made what's
Origins, the Egypt,
and that's
Origins.
a great game.
I love that one. I mean, I think Odyssey's better, but Origins is super good. But that's that's right though. That's where it changes. Like that's a different set of games.
Yeah,
and I don't mind it. Like it's not horrible, but it's just not the game that I remember making me fall in love with that whole series. You know what I mean?
It's a completely different type of. It's just an open world action RPG at this point. It's not a stealth. Yeah. There's a little bit of stealth in
sometimes, like when you do like the missions.
Trilogy.
The missions will force you to do
it. But I don't even think you have the Keyblade or whatever in Odyssey. They don't do that at all.
No,
it's not until because that was the big thing about Valhalla is they brought it back.
I don't even remember. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember even
do the finger thing.
Even caring that it was gone. You know, it was just.
Are you playing as Alexios or the chick?
The dude. Alexios.
Okay.
Yeah.
I played as the chick.
Yeah, me too.
I think you did too, Dan. I should remember her name.
I can't
forget it.
Cassandra?
Cassandra, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, so far, I've been in, even though, like I said, it's not an Assassin's Creed game, it doesn't feel like one, I've been enjoying what I have played of it so far. So
the world in that game is really cool.
Yeah, dude, it's so nice. Like, I mean, I've caught myself sometimes just stopping at like a high point in the game and just looking at it.
The towns are neat. It's beautiful. Like, it has the right amount of sailing. Like
it has the right amount.
Whereas Black Flag, I love Black Flag, but that was far too much. Like this kind of is a good like mixture of it.
Well, and the other thing too is like I also didn't give a shit about the story in Odyssey at all. Like I just played the game as an action RPG roaming around. I had fun doing that.
Yeah.
Like the story I kind of muted and I'll also say, and that goes for this recent trilogy as a whole. Like if you're somebody who cared about any of the present day stuff, none of that matters. In that series.
Yeah. Not really.
So we'll see. Maybe Mirage will bring that back. I don't know.
I got my high hopes for Mirage. I'm gonna see what it's like and then kind of wait on it and whatnot.
Exactly.
But that's where I'm at.
All right. How about you, Dan?
Okay, so over the break, I really only played like one main game and then a couple other small ones. But the main thing I played was I started and finished Crisis Core. The
platinum it for both.
Well, I mean that doesn't really count because if you finish the PS4 version, you get the PS5. Yeah, it's really good. It's it's very much like obviously like I remember the PSP one to be. It just looks better and it's kind of cleaned up. The menus are more in line with the 7 remake menus and stuff.
So the story is identical. Like they didn't change anything.
Yeah, it's identical, which is fine, but it leads into a kind of a weird thing where since remake came out first and you've played through that. The end of remake, and this is a spoiler for what's now a 4-year-old game. It's heavily implied that you've changed the future. It's in remake, and that Zack might be alive.
Yeah.
it doesn't really appear like that in this Crisis Core game, which is weird. They could have done something to change, because there's like a cutscene at the end, right? Because
Okay.
the whole point of 7 is Zack dies and Cloud takes his identity, basically. He takes his sword and all that kind of stuff, and he leaves him there. But obviously, with the way remake ended, you fight the fates, and it's heavily implied he's still alive. They don't even like kind of lean into that in here, which is weird.
It's not even a tease. It just almost seems like direct.
Yeah,
like,
it's just,
he's alive now.
Yeah. But so I really felt like that could have been a nice little touch at the end of this one, just to be like a tease for a rebirth, the next one, where like, his hand moves or something. But they whatever. I guess if you're going for a remake of Crisis Core, then that's what this is. It's really good. Like, it's still really good. The combat is really good. Like, it's a weird combination of action and slot machines and summons and all kinds of weird, crazy shit. But it really works when you're doing it, because battles are so fast that it's not like the slot machine stuff doesn't really take away from it. That's more just like limit. That's how limit breaks are handled.
Yeah, you don't get stuck on playing a battle for very
long.
No.
It's really like you zip through
it's
it.
Like
because,
bite-sized almost.
Well, because it had to be, because this is a PSP game. Exactly. And they didn't want anything to take longer than 5 to 10 minutes. So, a majority of the game is, there's like 9-10 chapters of the game, and those are kind of like small little, you kind of run from point A to point B. There might be like a stealth part in between, or there might be this other part in between. But that's really not where, I mean, that's if you get the story, but that's not where the bulk of the gameplay is. The bulk of the gameplay is there are a couple hundred missions to do in the game, which are, again, a lot of it's like recycled content, because they'll put you in the same kind of area with the objective of go kill this, or go kill that, or go kill this. Which is, it's kind of, you wish maybe they could have had a different thing to do, where it's like find these items, or other, like they could have varied the mission variety, because it really isn't anything other than this thing is harder, this thing is harder, this thing is harder. And the way the gameplay is supposed to go is like you kind of play through a chapter, and before you go to like the end of it, you go to the save point and you play as many missions as you can, because realistically the only way to get anything in the game in terms of like items or materia is to do missions. Because the game is, it's also weird in the sense that like you never get, aside from him obtaining the Buster Sword, you never buy weapons, you don't buy armor, there's none of that. Like the entire crux of the game is materia. And it's like, 7 had the basics like cure, fire, ice, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Crisis Core blows that out of the water. There's a couple like 100 different kinds of materia, and a lot of them do like crazy stuff. Like the best one you can really get in terms of like pure offense is one called Costly Punch, which is,
I kind of remember that.
It hits for max damage, but you lose health doing it. But it's by far the best strategy in the game, because once you get to a certain point where you're getting better accessories, then you can break the HP, the damage limit, and you can essentially hit for 100 grand every hit, which is crazy.
Jeez.
But you have to earn that, and it has a pretty steep curve in terms of like, there's 1-star missions, 2-star missions, but pretty early on you start running into like 5, 6, 7-star stuff.
Okay.
Because it goes all the way to like 10. But so you kind of have to grind out and level up the materia and combine the materia and put all this stuff together. So you got to take breaks at certain points to kind of figure it all out. And if you want to do everything, that takes time, like for sure. Like I finished it. There's like the secret boss has like the final mission has 1,000,000 HP, but it can pretty much kill you. If it hits you, it kills you. And you constantly have to like have Phoenix Downs on you to pray that you get up in time to do some damage. That fight's kind of a pain, just because you will die. It's scripted that you'll die over and over again. So it took me a couple tries, because you're doing Costly Punch and Gill Toss and all other kinds of stuff. But I like the game. It's a cool game. I like the game a lot. I remember playing a lot. I never beat it.
That's why I bought a PSP.
Yeah, it was a main reason. Like the PSP, it was like the first killer thing I remember for it, where it was like you got to own. It was.
And then I think after that was the Vice City Stories.
Yeah, they had PSP had a lot of really good games, and then remember with Vice City Stories, they did that thing at some point where they were like, we're going to put it on PS2. And they
It
did
was
it with
like
a
a
bunch
year
of
later.
they did it with a bunch of games
Yeah.
like Liberty City
Silent
Stories,
Hill,
some other stuff.
the Silent Hill PSP
But
game.
Crisis Core never did, and I always thought that was super weird.
it's
I was
just-
like, man, you're going to put all these other ones on, but you never made PS2 version of this when you easily could have.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like to play it now on PS4/5, it looks incredible. Like it basically just looks like remake, which is fine because it's a prequel to that game.
yeah.
You get all the Sephiroth backstory and like it fleshes out what happened in the reactor. Well, like because they touch on that in 7 where you go back in time, but this is like
When they did that whole like 10th, that would have been the 10th anniversary when they did all those. That was the best of those.
Yes.
Games they did that were spinoffs, and they did like Dirge of Cerberus. And,
well, that's got to be next on the remake chain, right? Let's do it.
Right. They did. Oh, that was also when the better Final Fantasy movie came out. Advent Children.
Advent Children was good.
Oh yeah.
Although
like that movie a lot.
That's not even canon anymore at this point.
No, it's not. But
yeah, this is a good stopgap in between like getting Rebirth.
It is.
Because it gives you more story, especially if Zack is gonna be alive. Now you have a reason to care about him. Because
just
they kind of wash over it in 7, like he just kind of exists.
In the remake, like if you are someone that played the 7 remake and you never played the original game, you don't really get much of Zack in the remake.
But they reference him plenty because that's the whole like era
for
storyline.
Sure. Exactly.
To see her early in the like obviously you get cameo characters from a lot of people like her and Yuffie's there and the Turks and Sephiroth, of course, like before you get to witness him kind of go nuts. So there's a lot of good like stuff like that where I'm hoping that in Rebirth, because there's a character in Crisis Core who's a Turk who is not in 7. So but she's not dead or anything, and she's kind of important.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool for her to come back in some way. Maybe Zack does live, and maybe
it'd be kind of interesting.
She and Zack are in a group together, and you run into them, or so. I don't know. There's a lot of ways this could go. So, it's a good stepping stone to Rebirth. And if you like 7 and you never had a chance to play it before, because a lot of people didn't.
No, you had to have that handheld system.
You had to have
if you didn't have it, you didn't get to play it.
And it's great. It's really good. If you want 100% it will take a pretty decent amount of time. Probably take like 40 hours. What it took me. Other than that, the other 2 major things I played were that Evil Genius 2 game.
Yeah, tell me about Evil Genius 2.
It's really cool. I remember watching something on it last year about it. On PC because it's you're a James Bond. It's a strategy game, and you're a James Bond villain, and you have your own little lair in a volcano, and
exactly.
You got to build it up and send your people out on missions, and spies will start to attack you. What I'll say about the game that I really like is, I like the style of it because it is very like 70s Bond villain type stuff in terms of like the theme of it and like you're a bad guy and how the minions and stuff work. The tutorial in it is very good. Like it walks you through.
It has to be for that type of game.
There's a lot of stuff in this game, like a shitload of stuff. But it's very clear on like, hey, you need to build a bunker or like a barracks for your people. And this is how barracks works. And you put it together and that's how you hire minions. And then it's like, well, now you can build a science room to train your minions to become special versions of minions. And they do different things. There's a whole scenario of like taking over the world, and you have to have a command center and all this kind of stuff and build all this stuff up. And then at the same point where you're kind of building your layer up behind the, this facade of, it's like a casino where people come and people will visit and they'll go to your casino, and you can specifically set up your casino to like rip people off or whatever. But every so often like investigators come to your island and they're trying to like sneak through your thing. And so you have to build defenses and all this other stuff. And what's the cool part about defenses is it's about traps. So like you can set up a giant, like a boxing glove that punches them or something. And you have to research, obviously there's research. You have to research all this stuff. But then you can set up combinations where like there's a giant fan that goes off and it blows them down a hall and then they get punched by a boxing glove or stuff like that. You can capture people and interrogate them for intel.
Nice.
The building is very easy. Basically, you just pick the room type. You build a room here. and then fill it up with whatever needs to become a room. Eventually, you unlock the ability to create different floors or dig through harder rock to expand it. The overall goal is to essentially take over the world, and you get to go to a map where it shows you like the world in different areas, and you take them over, and then you can either like buy the country or destroy it, or you can use it to farm money, kind of a thing. I'm playing on normal. It's pretty
challenging, probably.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's like things are progressing at the right pace.
Okay.
There's different like
I installed it because
cool.
I saw you playing. I was like,
yeah, I really like it. I probably dumped 10 hours or so into it in the first like 4 or 5 times I played it. There's different like super villains you can be. They have different effects. You can hire like henchmen.
So you don't have to be the dude that's on the cover.
No, he's like the main guy. There's other people who have different abilities and stuff. You can get like priority henchmen. So like the one I have right now is like a robot lady who's better at like defense and stuff. So I have her guard the inner sanctum.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a fun little game, and there is a story to it, and like the game will kind of walks you through it, and then or there's just do whatever you want kind of a mode. I go back to it from time to time. That's pretty good. And then the last thing I did, just because it became free, is I downloaded and installed WWE.
Yep.
I mean,
2K22.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've played a wrestling game, and
this is a good one to play.
It's not bad. It's the controls are manageable. They seem more toned down, where it's literally just hey, punch harder, or Irish whip somebody or something. It's got a lot of content in it in terms of like you can just wrestle, you can do like the story mode, or you can do the like play through a show mode. And then I was interested in like the whole like cards mode.
I kind of looked at that a little bit.
Show. It barely works. It constantly like because that's the one part of the thing that has to be online all the time. It crashes constantly. Like open a pack of cards, I can't do that. You're not connected to the internet. Crash. Want to play a match in that thing? Oh, I can't do that. You're not connected to the internet, and it'll sit on like some random screen until you back out of it. It's just a shit. It's a mess. It's terrible. Which is a bummer because that's something I'd probably be interested in the most. And
there's the GM mode.
The GM mode's fine. It's fine. It's cool that it's back. Basic. It's very basic.
Very basic.
They need to flesh that out a lot more for next year for it to even be a part of that game I'm interested in.
It doesn't even seem like there is a new one coming out in April. It almost seems like they're on a 2-year plan now, which is fine.
Probably smarter.
Yeah.
But if they're going to do that, they might want to drop the year from the name and go back to the old school method where it was like, shut your mouth and here comes the pain.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah.
The only downfall is there aren't really many catchphrases anymore.
No, yeah. They're kind of out of them.
That's the problem. I mean, a lot of wrestlers don't have anything. Like you can't really call it WWE the man. You know what I mean? Like
WWE beat up John Cena
in your house.
Yeah. And the other thing about it too is like it's January and this game. When did this game come out?
Last March.
Okay, so it's been about a year. The roster is 75% people who don't work there anymore.
It's
insane.
It already was like 50%.
It just keeps getting
people
worse.
That didn't work there when it came out.
But like it's a kind of a joke with how many people that aren't there that should be there, or who are there who shouldn't be there. I mean, obviously you can go through the created character thing and download anybody you want, which is cool because you can use them in pretty much any mode.
Well, that was the joke when the game came out, was you could create an entire Royal Rumble match of people that aren't there.
Yeah, and now you could probably
that was when it came out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all you got to do is wait for the AEW game to come out, and all of those people are on that roster.
Yeah,
so you're
exactly. But it's so weird. Like the story mode, especially this is a recent one, but Mandy Rose is in charge of Raw in that. Oof, whoops.
Nah.
Yeah. So, but it's cool because you can download obviously the creation stuff for this game is some of it's insane.
It always is.
The people look exactly like they're supposed to. And you can use them in pretty much any mode, which is cool. So like I downloaded I went to do like the universe thing where you play through like pay-per-view shows. And I'm just playing as Kairi Sane now because somebody made a person who looks exactly like her. So there you go. Yeah, so it's a cool, it's a fun like palate cleanser thing after the amount of time I just jumped into Crisis
It
Core,
is
because
for sure.
because next is Tactics Ogre, and that's going to take me forever. So
that's going to take a while. Yeah.
I needed but that's pretty much.
I forgot I had bought that until you mentioned you were going to play that. And I was like,
next.
oh, I have that too.
That's next. But yeah, that's pretty much the only things that I played that have been new or different.
Yeah. Well, we can hit over to the news. There's some news articles. I mean, it wasn't too crazy over the holidays, but there's definitely been some new stuff. So the first thing that I put on here, and this is probably the first news story of the year, which I thought was interesting. I probably shouldn't have mentioned when we were talking about the game, but High in Life is Xbox Game Pass' biggest third-party launch ever. I don't think they don't really report on numbers anymore, but I'm also not surprised. I mean, even if you just get that Rick and Morty fan base, on board with a game like that, it's going to be big. But I mean, it got people like me who I have no interest in Rick and Morty. I played it.
Right.
So, like, Matt, I don't think you have an interest in Rick and Morty.
Oh, God, no. I got no interest in Rick and Morty.
Exactly. So,
well, it's also,
I'm glad it did well.
It's new. Like, it was kind of a, I don't want to say like a surprise
look at Microsoft's
party,
year.
Yeah.
What did they have this year that was exclusive that people would be interested in?
Right. Not really much going against it. Yeah.
They saved their one bullet for the end of the year. So, another interesting thing. I mean, we're obviously going to keep talking about Vampire Survivors because it's an excellent game, but Vampire Survivors is going to continue to be updated regularly for free on Xbox Game Pass. We have an email about that, which I'll read later about that game specifically. But it's cool that the guy that made the game, one of the other interesting things I read this week about that game was that the reason he created the mobile version and put it out for free is because he could not find a mobile developer that would make a version of the game without monetizing it.
Oh, sure.
Which I thought was interesting. So that guy just like took the time to make that port himself.
That's pretty dope. Which is crazy. I like this guy more and more, man.
Yeah, but I mean, and he even said in the interview I was reading, he's like, he doesn't even understand why the game is as popular as it has become. So, but yeah, I mean, it's cool that the game is going to get regular updates along with more DLC. So, again, if you keep putting out DLC that's like $1.79, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, people will play it.
This cool Wavebird thing, I know you saw it too, Dan. They're making, I forget the company, but
Nixie or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. They're making basically the Wavebird, but what's cool about it is you can split it off like a Switch controller. So you can actually hold your Switch with a controller that's like a GameCube controller, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
And I think it's the same price as the Pro controller is $70.
Yeah, it's $70. Like it's really cool. Like
it's really cool.
The design of it is nice. Like the way
one of those I thought, well, Zelda will be out in May. Maybe I'll pick this up and that'll be the controller.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a Pro controller, but I've had it since launch.
The Wavebird is one of the best controllers that's ever been made for anything, and part of it was like the shape of it was actually nice. So
yeah, exactly. So it was a good, that era of like PS2, Xbox, GameCube, good controllers pretty much all around. I think
that when Xbox made that, I mean, you and I like the Duke, but when they made the S, like that
it wasn't for everybody though.
No, but
like,
the S was a
small hands,
fantastic controller. The DualShock 2 was a great controller, and then the Wavebird was fantastic too.
Yeah, you had a good round.
The golden era
there
of gaming, right there.
The
Xbox,
golden era.
PS2,
yeah, there you go.
It's been all downhill since.
This one we actually got several emails on this. I only picked one of them, which I'll read in a second. But that is after like, I don't know, the last month of, is this happening? Is it not? There is going to be an Xbox and Bethesda event coming later this month. Let me pull up the email here. Cause like I said, we got like 4 or 5 emails on this. I just picked one of them at random. This email comes to us from Adam from Green Bay, Wisconsin. He says, "Hi guys. Hopefully I made the cutoff for emails on being in your next episode. It was just announced after being heavily rumored that Microsoft has a digital event on January 25th. It sounds like this thing is going to start their version of a Nintendo Direct or Sony State of Play. It's a combo event with Bethesda, but they've come out and said ahead of time that they are not going to talk about Starfield. Instead, it's going to focus on Redfall, which also supposedly have a release date of May 2023. That makes sense.
Yep.
Do you think that Starfield could potentially have slipped into holiday 2023? It seems a bit absurd that the game is going to get as long of a final delay as Halo Infinite got. What are your thoughts? Thanks and love the podcast.
Well, the first thing, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, the first thing is like these are the events they need to be doing all the time. Like every couple months, like Nintendo Direct level frequency.
It doesn't have to. Yeah, it doesn't have to be
30 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't have to be every month, but 20 to 30 minutes. Here's Redfall. Here's what we're working on. This is what's changed since we showed it to you. Here's some gameplay. Check it out, kind of a thing. That's all they have to be. They don't have to be hour-long like that's not what I want.
No, and like I also don't want it to be like the Sony thing where like sometimes those are like 10 minutes and it's like, why did I watch this? I think Nintendo's the best one to look at because they save them. They seem to do theirs like every 6 months or so, but when you get a Nintendo Direct, it's eventful.
It's
like, there's enough
it's
there.
Banger after banger, and then they're always like something is out today, something is out next month, something is out the month after that, and something is out the month after that. That's a Nintendo Direct. Like.
And I think that would be wise on Microsoft's side because again, I we're at the point now where they've done a lot of bad things with announcing shit way too early. I mean, I don't even have to go down the list.
Let's not talk about it yet. Yeah.
But let's do these kind of events like Redfall being in May. That makes sense, and that's fine. That's a good time to put that game out.
Yes.
They're going to talk about Forza. It sounds like everything they're going to talk about here will have a release date, which makes sense.
That's what that needs to be.
They're going to talk about Forza 8. Which again, if you're a fan of that version of Forza, that's cool. There was one other game. I can't remember. There's one other game they announced they're going to talk about here. There's probably going to be a surprise or two that we don't know about. That's what I would hope.
Yeah, you would hope they would pop in like one game or something.
Well, and I'll throw this in there because this was another news article. It's a little bit further down, but I'll put it up here. Is that it's heavily rumored that the GoldenEye is going to be slated for a surprise release during that January event. Which, if they're still holding that on, that's a good time to do it.
That's the best thing to just January. This comes out. Nothing's today. Out. Here you go.
Exactly.
Right.
And whenever GoldenEye comes out, I feel like that's how it's going to release. They're not going to come out and say, "Hey, 6 months from now, it's coming out." Like, there's no reason.
Well, the other thing is it's cool that it finally exists, but remember, there's no multiplayer. It's not even what you wanted. It's
Exactly. Yeah. As far as Starfield goes, I don't know. I go back and forth on it. Like, there's part of me that says, like, I could totally see that game being a fall holiday 2023 game. But there's part of me that, I've seen enough evidence and enough, scuttle around the internet that game very well could come out between now and Redfall, which is in May. One of the things I saw too is that whatever the next one of these events they have is going to be 100% devoted to Starfield.
Sure,
the whole event.
There's plenty of more of that game they can still show because they really only showed.
We haven't seen anything since once a year
planet.
ago.
Yeah, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I go back and forth. I don't think the timeline of it coming out before Redfall makes sense, but
no,
I could see that game being a summer game.
Possible. Yeah. My thought would be, obviously they know ahead of time if anything major is coming out in the fall. If they don't have anything, then it has to be that.
Yes, yeah. If one of these other things that we know about isn't fall 2023,
right?
Then that's an easy put it there,
right? And the thing is it doesn't necessarily mean it's like December or anything at that point. They release stuff in September all the time. It could be
exactly. It could easily be that.
And again, since it's just gonna be on Game Pass, it also kind of doesn't matter when it releases because it's not like they're expecting game sales for that. Like
I think on PC they expect to get Steam sales because kids will want to buy it.
That's
Steam
the money
specifically because they're going to want to mod it.
That game. Yes.
Yeah, but for Xbox users, I don't know what the numbers are because again they famously don't like to put out numbers.
But they always release
unless
stuff
they're good.
End of September, early October. Like that is a very common time for them. I could see I could see that. I would argue they also probably don't want to put it out too close to Redfall because.
No, that's what I would think too. They're both Bethesda games.
Eat any kind of like Redfall playership at that point. Like, we're excited for Redfall. I think that game looks fun.
I think it looks fun. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So
you can't tell me that if they release Redfall in May and then they're just like, oh yeah, Starfield comes out in June, that player base just crash.
Especially if Final Fantasy really is coming
and
out.
Diablo
in June,
comes out in June.
And Diablo, you cannibalize.
You can't do Diablo and then squeeze Starfield in between that and Final Fantasy. Like you can't.
I wouldn't do that.
No, that's a bad idea.
So yeah, my guess is it'll be closer to the fall, and that's fine. My thing on that game is take the time you need.
Right.
It needs to come
out.
We
also don't need it to be
working.
Another Fallout 76. Like it doesn't need to be.
No, I mean I don't mind if it has like Skyrim level jank, but I don't want it to be 76.
Yeah, it can have Fallout broken. It can have Fallout 4 jank.
It's gonna have that jank.
It'll have 4 jank. That's fine, but 76 jank. You know, it's funny too because 76 is a good game now. But look how long it took. Yeah.
So, I just threw this in there because I thought the headline was funny, but the Final Fantasy 16 producer denies existence of the PC version, basically said buy a PS5.
Yoshi P doesn't give a fuck about you, dude. He doesn't give a shit.
I don't think that game, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a PC version at some point, but if you want to play Final Fantasy 16, get a PS5.
Buy a PS5. Like, it is what it is.
You put this news story in here, which I laughed at because I've had my system vertical since I bought it. But that putting your PS5 vertical doesn't kill it.
People were saying it was like leaking liquid metal and stuff, and it's just like, no, come on. I know you have yours vertical. I know a lot of people do. I've always been someone who hates vertical systems just because working at a game store, I can't tell how many times people are like, oh, tipped over. Like, oh, really? Think so?
Well, what I will say this generation is like the Xbox. I mean, it's not just built, like a skinny thing that's going to fall over. It's a tower.
It is built to stand.
It isn't moving over.
The PlayStation 5, I don't like it standing because it's such a fucking weird shape as it is.
The reason I'm okay with my PS5 being vertical is because you literally screw the base into the system. That's true. So it has stability. The reason mine's vertical is because it's literally too big for the cubby hole.
Well, there's that too.
System.
Yeah.
So if I put it in there, it's like that's fine. There's no ventilation.
Mine's on,
and the system would be dead. So
yeah, mine's on.
Out of necessity, mine's vertical.
The stand, just for that matter, where it needs to breathe or it'll die.
I mean, I would hope that this. I mean, again, I would hope this redesign, would be smaller, but at the same time, I don't like the disk drive part of it, if that's true. So I'm probably stuck with what I have.
Yeah, I don't know if this is.
We'll see.
Unless it's more powerful, I don't see myself swapping this one out for another.
Yeah,
model.
Yeah,
exactly. I threw this in here just because I thought it was interesting. Xbox is doing really well in Japan this generation.
It's funny.
And I think a lot of it has to do with Game Pass and also, and it's specifically the 1S. Well, it's specifically the 1S that they're buying over there.
Well, because
and that makes sense.
But because remember, that country is
PS5.
But remember, that country's densely populated, so streaming is more viable.
It is
because everyone lives closer to data centers.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, streaming is not viable.
Not viable.
And I learned that every time I try to stream a fucking PS3 game.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm going to try it again.
Even though I live in a major suburb area, streaming is still bad.
It's the one time I tried it, I said, no thanks. Yep. This is great. I've been waiting for this. I'm glad it has like tentatively a month date, but the Discord update for PS5 is coming with the 7-point update in March. Yep. This is great. Nice. My best friend and I mean, we just pretty much use Discord now, and that integration with the Xbox has been fantastic. I look forward to this because now, like, I can be in a party again with all my friends who have different systems.
Right, or like when I'm playing Crisis Core on my PlayStation and you're playing whatever on Xbox, we can hang out.
Exactly. And he, who's just sitting on his bed with his phone.
Well, I told you the other major thing that's great about it is, like, as someone who plays Final Fantasy 14 on a console, and most people I know play it on a PC, doesn't matter. Yeah. And like we use Discord, and I have to use my phone. I don't have to use my phone anymore because I can just use a headset on the like that is a godsend for a game like that.
Exactly,
communication is key. Like that is a godsend. So,
well, I'll say if it works like the Xbox integration, like you pick up the call like with your phone, and then what you do is when you're on the application, you swipe it up and you click a little button that says transfer to
that's fine.
Xbox. and then you have your
As long
headset
as
set
I'm
up, and you're good.
talking through
It's
the
a one
headset
button thing
on my console.
It's a
that's all I
one
care
button
about.
thing. It takes like 10 seconds, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You can literally close the app on your phone and be done.
That's
with
all
it
I
there.
want it to be.
So, it's fantastic. Like I said, that we've exclusively used that since it.
Well, that's all I'll use
so.
now too, because like you know how it is. We have party chats that are like we can jump in and out of on PlayStation because they're like pre-set up. But
yeah, they're cool.
But now I can just have
better.
a pre-set up Discord call.
Because now I'm not tied to a specific system. Right. I mean, if I want to go play this,
well, it makes more sense too because with so many things being cross-play, there needs to be a cross-chat like that has to exist.
It has to now.
Call of Duty, Minecraft, even
Fortnite,
like Phantasy Star even has fucking crossplay.
Diablo 4, I think, is going to be crossplay. Obviously, Diablo 2 is. Now I think about that remaster, so makes sense.
It needs to exist.
It's a good time for it.
Yes.
Another fun one I threw in here, and I honestly believe this is probably a real thing. The Gears of War collection still happening, coming this year. I believe it. It makes sense if you put in the effort, and I'll be careful how I say. So if you put in the effort ahead of time before the game comes out, this could be like Halo MCC level good.
You just doomed it.
If you put in the effort beforehand,
you just doomed it.
Yeah,
it's over now.
Well, this is also a different team making this, so there's that. But I mean, this is a good idea. Even if it's just 1, 2, and 3, it's worth going back to those games if they're remastered and look better today. I mean, especially right now, I think the only one that they ever did anything for was the first one, right? They did like a kind of a 10th anniversary for the Xbox One, I think.
Yeah,
which was fine, but they never did anything for 2 or 3. And that's it. I mean, it's a good trilogy. I wouldn't put it as in the same level as like Halo.
Would you
trilogy,
throw Judgment in there too? You probably have to. I know, but you'd have to, right?
You could. The only reason why I could see that not happening is because that game was developed by a different studio. That was People Can Fly, so I don't know if they have like.
Yeah, but MCC used the PC ports of Halo, and they didn't. True. And they didn't make that.
They didn't do those. Yeah. So. It's possible, but I think that's your cutoff. I don't think they do anything.
No. Judgment's the farthest you go.
I think Judgment would be the cutoff. Yeah. So. But I would like to see it. I mean, I love Gears of War, so it would be fun to replay through those games. Mean, especially the first one's all-time favorite of that series. So.
There's no bad can come from. I mean, unless you fuck it up like MCC in the beginning. But
yeah, like that's the thing. I think it's just don't do this.
I think it's been long enough from even since Gears 5 that it's time to.
And if they do kind of a similar thing with the multiplayer that they did with Halo, where it's like, hey, here's all these maps from these games, that's cool too.
Yeah. Make it one, that'll be big. Make it one multiplayer system, and it's just like, and then there's the games. Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah, do that.
And there's some great maps for that game. That
game multiplayer is really good.
Really good and just different.
Yeah, I mean, I remember really some of the most fun I ever had was playing Gears 1. Even how
same here.
It was broken as fuck. But
oh god, it was.
Remember host side advantage, and you'd jump
host
in
advantage,
run 3 times, and then quit.
The cowabunga backflip, crab walk,
the exploding chainsaw.
Yeah, so many
fucked up things.
There's a good year of like I'm waiting for Halo. The only game I played was Gears Online.
That's all we did for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And that was back before there was a party system. That was just
we played in one basement. Like it was. We had 4 TVs set up in one basement.
We made friends with people on Xbox Live that were like going between hotels and using hotel internet and stuff.
Well, hosted management.
2006, 7. Yeah,
exactly. Fire the gun 3 times. Oh, I'm not the host. Everybody quit out. I'm out.
That's what it got to.
It got to it.
It was like, who's the host?
Put tape on your screen for blind fire shotguns. Because it would hit the same spot every time.
Exactly.
But it was fun. Like you figured
that chainsaw detonation thing was my favorite glitch in that game.
It was so good.
I just
keep revving it and then let go.
How much you could just piss somebody off with that.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous because even if you did it and you killed the person, if they killed you before you killed them, they would die too.
Yeah.
That was the best part about it. So like it didn't matter. Like the minute you got to them, they were fine.
Yep. That's why so many games in the beginning, a lot of them would start out as like charges at each other. And somebody trying to
I remember doing matches where literally like the 4 of us, because it's a 4-on-4 game, like would just start with the chainsaws revved to do that. Go do it in a line.
I remember one of my favorite matches ever. The 4 of us just revved the chainsaw and walked in a straight line around this map, and guys would run into us and die. And then if you were the one cutting, the guy behind you would step up. He'd be first in line, and we'd just get back in line. So fucking stupid, but it works sometimes.
The cowabunga backflip was good.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that one? Yeah. Whereas that was on I can't think of the name of the map, but the one with the shoreline.
Yeah.
The one where like you had to boom shot a certain way. You would literally, your character would do a backflip onto the top of this building structure. And then once you were up there, like you were invincible.
Oh,
all those old you could just fucking
games
kill everybody.
I mean, Halo 1 and 2 had real fucking broken outside the map kind of shit.
Gridlock, that's the name of the map.
Yeah.
I just thought of it. Yeah. Oh, what a hell of a game.
Man, multiplayer used to be
Hammer
fun.
of Dawn was broken.
What happened?
Like, remember if you were the last person like to get somebody downed and then you could Hammer of Dawn them?
Like just like fucking fuck you at the end of the
boom.
game.
Yeah. Oh my god. What a great game.
Yeah. Bring it back.
Bring it back. I take your time with 6, but bring it back. Don't monetize it so much because I even had fun. I had fun with 5, but yeah, bring it back with Gears Collection. I'll play that multiplayer.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Put the Horde mode in it too.
Yes, so it needs Horde mode if you're gonna bring it in. Yeah,
it needs Horde mode. Just combine all those maps again for Horde mode, and you're good. So, last news article I put in here, and this I could also see as I'm reading it could be a surprise thing for that January event. They're going to launch that Game Pass family plan in more regions. So it is out in certain regions right now. It's just not here. I could totally see that being like, hey, you know what? This is out today in America. It makes sense. They could be ready to go with that.
Yeah, and then you and I figure out how to set it up.
I just want to know what the pricing structure is. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you and I and our other friend, we figure out how to set it up. And boom.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's just gonna be a great thing. Like when it comes out. It's just a better way to get that. So before we hit emails today, we're going to do something different because it's the first episode of the year. We're going to pull up, we got a list of all the different games that are coming out in 2023. Again, allegedly some of these won't hit.
Stuff that is supposed to come this year, and we're just going to run through the list quick. And
yeah, we're going to go through it and just kind of pick out what our most anticipated games are. And again, any game we're talking about here, subject to change. Obviously,
there's going to be some for sure. Not even going to get close.
So, honestly, I'm just looking at January. There's a couple things I totally forgot about. But just looking at, we're as of the day that we're recording, that One Piece Odyssey game is out.
Yeah.
Next week, and I totally forgot about this till I pulled up this article. Both of those Persona games hit everything, but they're on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So Persona 3 Portable, which I've never played, so at some point I'm going to play it finally. I
played the PS2 version. You
played a little bit of
3.
Okay. Yeah. And then Persona 4 Gold, which is just an incredible game.
I need to go back and actually finish that.
Yeah.
Did you see
that's going to be great.
Speaking of those quick, did you see that news story where Atlas, if you're going to stream them, they want you to put a spoiler warning on it?
Really?
For PS2
10 and 15-year-old games.
PS2 games.
That's weird. Yeah. Weird.
How about you put in the title "spoiler"? This is what happens, and you just type it out. Does that count?
Get
real
dumb.
Yeah,
very stupid. I just remember this because I actually have to go pick up my copy next week. But Fire Emblem Engage for Switch is out. I have that. You and I both have that collector's edition.
I forgot.
That'll be cool.
Forspoken's on the 24th.
Forspoken is out. That's a game I'm gonna wait and see what kind of reviews it gets.
Yeah.
I played the demo. It was fine. Dead Space, that's probably my big one this month, and I'm going to play is Dead Space. I'm really looking forward to the remake of that.
I also completely forgot this Age of Empires 2.
That's the other one that's really cool. I forgot about it. Now I'm excited again. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is on console.
That's crazy.
At the end of this month on Game Pass, and I cannot wait for that. We'll kick it off here over to February. And I'm not going to read every one of these games. I'm just going to pick out the ones that are kind of important here. Hogwarts Legacy, is probably, it seems like it's finally going to come out. I thought the thing that was cool the other day, I don't know if you saw this, they put out some of the voice cast.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg's the headmaster,
cool.
Which is really cool. Again, I think that game looks really good. I'm going to wait and see what kind of reviews it gets and probably wait for it to be on sale.
Yeah, it'll go on sale.
It'll go on sale pretty fast, but I think that game looks really good. Your big February game, Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line.
More
finally coming out.
Music games for console finally, which is cool.
One that's getting a lot of buzz, and it is on everything. It is a Game Pass Day 1 game too, but Atomic Heart, which I think just looks like almost like a BioShock-like game.
Yeah.
That game looks really cool. I'll definitely try that since it's on Game Pass. Yakuza, now it's called in America Like a Dragon. Ishin comes out
that game
February 21st. The game looks cool. I'll wait on it just because I don't need it day 1, but it does look really cool. We can both laugh about this. or actually all three of us can laugh about this. PlayStation VR 2 launches February 22nd. I'm very curious to see how that goes.
I think it'll end up being like the first one, where like it kind of sells to certain people and it just lives in its own world, and that's all it ever does. Like it's not gonna change gaming. It's not gonna whatever. I mean, remember how many of those we sat on at the store?
When the PSVR came out, we sat on them.
Sell them.
Well, I mean, really, there was no game for the PSVR that really.
I'll say this, there are definitely more games. It seems. I think I saw there's like 30 total between digital and physical. So they have a lineup. It's just it's a huge entry to get into that.
Yeah,
too much money. Some other PC games, and then we have I want to mark Sons of the Forest, and that's only on PC when it first comes out, but that game looks really cool. I like the original. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe comes out for the Switch at the end of the month. Octopath Traveler 2, which you and I both have. That I'm going to play on PS5. And then that Destiny 2 expansion's the end of February, the one that looked like a weird free-to-play.
I don't know what that is.
It looks bizarre. Yeah. It just looks really bizarre. We get to March here. We got one of the big ones that's getting a lot of buzz. This is also Game Pass Day 1, but it's on both. That Wulong Fallen Dynasty.
That game looks cool.
Looks cool. It looks really cool. The Last of Us Part 1 comes on PC, which I want to remind you again is $20.
Yeah.
I forgot about this. I'm glad we're looking at this list. Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is coming out March 9th.
I forgot that that's on everything. That. Yeah.
We actually didn't talk about this in news. I forgot to put it in here, but we'll talk about it now. Ubisoft doing really bad right now. Canceled a bunch of games, but also delayed Skull and Bones a 6th time.
Oh my god!
So that is now could potentially not come out until March 31st of 2024 because it's been delayed till next fiscal year.
Do you think they're just too far into it where they can't cancel it at this point?
I think so.
Because they just said they put out another thing where they're hiring more people to come fix it, and all of a sudden, like Ubisoft is in a fucking tailspin right now. They don't know what they're doing.
They're in a really tailspin right now where they just need one of these Assassin's Creed games to hit or something. Like they don't even know what to do with Far Cry right now.
No, on one that you saw the thing too where they were like, "We can't believe Mario Rabbids didn't sell that well." It's like, really, you can't.
It's on one system
on the Switch.
Like, I bought it on sale.
Yeah,
I bought it.
Yeah, but like, so really, you're confused about that one? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is out March 17th. I really look forward to that. That weird Bayonetta.
Yeah.
I don't even have anything to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably it will arguably be the biggest release of March, no question. Resident Evil 4 Remake is out March 24th. I have to play it. I'll be talking about it for sure.
Yeah,
they did it. They did.
That'll just be
reconfirm that the island is still there.
This show, yeah.
Oh my God, will it? That crime boss game, Rock Ace, only for Windows, is out in March. Again, only for PC. Comes out for consoles later in the year.
I can't wait.
The System Shock remake supposedly comes out in March. I did see stuff about that. And then Sifu, which has been out on other platforms, that is coming out for Xbox
and PC.
Cool.
Yeah,
and PC. So that's cool. April, I'm not even going to mention the Hogwarts Legacy comes on older systems.
Don't play it on those systems if you can.
Yeah, also don't. Honestly, I mean, there's not a lot listed here. I'd say the big one for me and probably for you too, Dan, is Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. Mm-hmm. Just awesome. That's out April 14th.
Oh, for sure.
We'll see if Dead Island 2 finally hits on April 28th. That's the other Skull and Bones of the year.
Yeah, I have a feeling like this is probably it for it because I mean, it's got to be done, right? It has to be.
It has to be.
And
done,
I don't.
right?
Not that I'll buy it, but I really need to see what that game is like.
I do too.
Just because
I do.
I'm not.
That's kind of it. Like April's kind of dry. I mean, something's going to get pushed.
Well, the thing
is
like, stuff is going to move around still. The further you go down this list, the more stuff is going to change. But
May, there's only 2 games on it, but they're both heavy hitters. Bangers, we have Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom, which I guarantee that's not going to change. That's May 12th. That's locked. They're ready to go. Yeah. And then Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is May 28th. I imagine that probably hits that.
That's probably it.
That game seems like they're ready to go as well.
And it just got pushed again. I mean, it's got to be it. They've shown gameplay.
It's got to be.
Like, come on.
we've seen gameplay. We did
They
the
just
Kevin
did that last thing,
Conroy
right,
stuff,
at the
which
awards.
is awesome. That's what sold my girlfriend on that game.
It's got to be close.
Yeah, it's got to be. June, we got some real. June is probably, I would argue, is the best month of next year. This year, Street Fighter 6, June 2nd. Followed up just 4 days later with my most anticipated game of the year, which is Diablo 4.
Crazy.
Cannot wait for Diablo 4. And then just 2 short weeks later,
the banger.
And I cross my fingers. I hope it happens. Final Fantasy 16.
That'll come out. I think that's it.
And then finally, and it's on here, and I'm glad it's on here because I also look forward to this game, but I don't know if it'll hit in June. But they have RoboCop Rogue City. I would like to play that.
Yeah, and you're gonna get that. It's literally Switch, right? It's gonna be real good on Switch, right?
No, it won't be. But here's the thing to note when you look at it: it's not coming out on PS4 or Xbox One. So why put that on the Switch, right? Like that,
yeah, you would think that those three are the ones that are always aligned with each other.
If it's not running on those two, you think it's going to run on the Switch, or is
not
it
at all?
Or is it a cloud version?
Oh, it could be.
I could see that. So
yeah.
That pretty much is the list. I mean, we have
there's
July and August.
There's the stuff where it's like,
then we have like
window stuff. So there's like Fight Forever should be the first couple months of the year.
AEW.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
That Killer
Clowns game.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one. This is interesting to me because MLB is on this list, but only listed for PS5 and Xbox Series X. I'm pretty now, to be fair, they have not confirmed because they haven't even announced this game technically yet. Because I've been waiting for it because I got to get my stupid ass collector's edition reserve in. They have not said if it's going to be for PS4, Xbox, and the Switch. Now, I could see it not being on PS4 and Xbox, but I think there's still going to be a Switch version. I don't think they would take that away after just having it.
Yeah,
because remember they just put it on Switch. They're like, yeah, it's coming to Switch, and then like for only 1 year of that to exist, I doubt that. But
yeah,
I have a feeling it'll end up being on everything just because they're not ready to cut that off yet.
Agreed.
But just fucking announce it. It's got to come out in like 2 months. Like, what are they doing to me?
Yeah. I'm not really going to go over the Q games like Q3, Q4.
Well,
I mean, we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Valheim should be out this year for Xbox.
Yeah. But then a big one that, I mean, we've talked about earlier in the show, but Redfall probably is May. I can believe that.
Yeah.
We also some other ones I was just kind of looking through here. First half of the year, Stalker 2, which they just put out a bunch of footage of that game. It sounds like that might actually come out pretty soon. There's also the Hollow Knight sequel, which people are excited about. Forza we talked about. As we kind of get down here to just like games expected in 2022 with no date, you have things like, I'm going to tell you right now as I look at this list, Alan Wake 2 ain't coming out in 2020.
Well, but you skipped over it, but Spider-Man 2 should be out this year.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a holiday game.
Yeah,
it makes
Final
sense.
Fantasy Rebirth could make it, but I don't think so.
I think it's a March 2024.
That seems more likely.
And that's fine.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That seems fine. Some of the other ones like Alien Dark Descent, which is that strategy game, which looks really cool. That'll probably hit this year. They already said Armored Core 6 was this year. So I believe that's coming
for sure.
I'm just kind of looking through the rest of the stuff.
That Crash game will come out.
I like this one right here in the middle here. Fallout 4, PS5 and Series X. Are they making a new version of Fallout 4?
I thought they were supposed to be, yeah.
Okay.
You skipped over Exo Primal, dude. You skipped over Dino Crisis 4.
Oh, man. I look forward to it.
I know. You and I might play that.
I want to play that. I think that game looks cool.
You know what I'm interested too? I didn't know that they were doing this.
Lies of P.
I didn't know there was Gloomhaven for console. That's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
I know it's on. I mean, it's been on PC for a long time, but Gloomhaven for console. That's pretty rare. People who don't know what that is, that's a really, really good, like, huge ass RPG like board game. Which is a good PC version of it for a console. That's neat. I like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think I saw also like either Catan or Carcassonne, whatever. One of those.
Carcassonne.
They're making a new version.
Yeah, Carcassone's a great
They're making a new version of that. The other game, and I'm looking through here, I don't see it in here. It was announced for 2023 because I remember the morning I woke up and sent out a bunch of texts about it, and that is House Flipper 2.
Yeah.
That should be out this year.
Metal Slug Tactics, super excited for.
That looks really cool.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Kind of forgot about that. Minecraft Legends is the other game that's going to be talked about at the event.
Yeah.
That was the other game. So they'll be talking about that. Payday 3, they just announced that.
I don't think that's. I don't know if that'll make it.
I don't think it'll be this year, but
Pikmin could make
how about
it.
Here's a good one as I look down. Remember Slitterhead?
Oh God, yeah.
Remember that PlayStation? Yeah. The Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remastered.
Yes.
Those will be out this year.
Yeah.
Those are gonna be cool for sure. And then another one I'm gonna mention. I think it got announced for July. That Sea of Stars game.
Yeah,
There it is.
yeah.
That looks awesome. So
I didn't realize they were doing Test Drive Unlimited is back.
Apparently,
that's weird.
Back. I didn't hear about that either. To be fair.
Okay, sure. And then they have Wrestling 2K23 on here.
I guess they do. I don't think I've heard WWE speak.
I would take a.
I also forgot about the Texas Chainsaw.
game,
which is just Killer Clowns and
Friday 13th. Yeah, like that's fine. Didn't that have something else to it where it was like 3-on-5 or something?
I want to say
play as
so.
the
And
family.
I also think that was a Game Pass game, if I remember.
Yeah, you play as a family, and then you can play as the escapees or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
That's
victims.
Cool.
That's cool. Cool. Those, and then hopefully they, with all those games, as long as they balance it, then it's fine. You know,
yeah.
They got stuff that doesn't get tweaked until the game's been out for a couple months.
But I mean that pretty much sums it up. A lot
of good stuff, a lot of small stuff too, like a lot of big stuff. And I mean, obviously, we'll get a Nintendo Direct at some point that'll announce more stuff.
Oh, for sure.
You know what else? I really hope comes out this year. It's not on this list anywhere for obvious reasons. Can we please get Advance Wars now? Like, please.
Yeah, I get why it was delayed, but that was a year and a half.
A year. It's been a year.
Yeah. It's time to move on.
Can I please have Advance Wars, please?
I really want it. It's been on my Amazon pre-orders for so long. It just says December.
It's just literally it was
December 2022, and then when we hit the first year, it changed to December of 2023.
I think there was something a couple months ago where they said all they said was it still exists. But it's
done. My understanding is done.
Would have been out by now. Yeah. Please can I have it, please?
It's just please. All right, so we'll go ahead and kick off the emails here. First email comes to us from Chris from North Bend, Washington. Key thing I want to point out real quick: North Bend, Washington is where some of Twin Peaks was filmed.
Oh no,
that's where the diner is. So thank you for emailing.
Here goes.
One day, my girlfrild and I are going to.
Kyle's going to email you back.
I want to go to the. I want to go to the diner so bad.
Can you go here and take some pictures for me?
Our old Nintendo rep that used to came in our store, he recently went to the diner and I saw pictures. And I was really, really jealous when I saw it. So, but anyways, hi guys, love the podcast. Have missed it during the break. I saw several reports over the holidays that at least in the UK, 90% of game sales were digital last year. With such a staggering number, do you think that it is not out of the question to assume that the next round of consoles will forgo the disc drive? I think so. I don't want to, but I think it. I think we're really close.
Every day is a step closer to the edge, and
I think Sony is really testing.
Sony's about to prove it to you.
New model,
yeah.
And the other thing I'd say is Microsoft already has the proof with the Series S. That thing has probably sold double, triple.
And Microsoft also has the proof.
Price point that helps, but
they're more invested in a subscription service than anything else.
Yes.
So
absolutely,
we've talked about it before, and this was true in the PS4 days and stuff. Games are just install discs now, man.
Yeah.
Will Nintendo ever get rid of it? I don't think so. Because as long as they can keep making little chips, they're fine. They've dipped into the cloud stuff we talked about before, and then you get Final Fantasy X on the cart, but you got to download Final Fantasy X too. Stuff like that. I think that
continues, but there's stuff Nintendo fans and they're collectors. They want
the different style system
that definitely exists for people that play Xbox and PlayStation, but to a much smaller degree,
right?
Yeah,
than Nintendo. So, and obviously Nintendo's eShop has gotten a lot better, but you remember when that launched, it was a disaster.
Well, and also remember Nintendo is never going to be the company that puts a 500 gig storage thing in your console.
No,
they're going to make you buy that, so they can't make you download everything.
Exactly.
But I mean, Sony's about to prove it whenever this new thing happens. And Xbox is. I don't think Xbox would ever say that they're going to do it because they're okay with making two versions of things and doing that.
Yeah.
and they're never going to cut themselves off from something.
No,
because they still, I mean, all these Game Pass games, they still make physical copies of them now. Even when I can tell you, they don't have to. They really,
super dumb.
Yeah,
they super dumb.
Yeah, every like I said, every day is a step closer to the edge.
It for sure. Sadly.
Whenever the next gen is, if there is one, then yeah, I think we're finally gonna get there. But that's at this point a decade, probably.
Yeah,
maybe
easily. I think you're looking at 2028.
I mean, we all hate it.
2030.
I think a lot of people hate it.
Yeah.
But
I think that's just realistically where it's going to be.
But a place like the UK, 90% again makes more sense. Like smaller than the United States, arguably more. Well, I mean, a lot of people in a smaller area, but Japan, it's got to be Japan. It's got to be close to this too. But here again, the biggest problem with America is high-speed internet is not regulated. Like
it's not.
You can't, if you live in Kansas, you're kind of fucked if you live anywhere other than probably Kansas City, like near a major city.
That's the real thing that holds at least the US back is internet.
Right. But
it's not like Japan.
Like we talked about before, data caps, all that kind of stuff. Like we're so harsh on that one. That's what everything is. But yeah, I mean, Sony's about to do it. Sony's about to pull the trigger. And maybe that's what it just becomes is you can buy the disc drive if you want it. But even then that doesn't mean they're going to make physical games anymore.
Yeah. For sure. Next email, this is one's geared more towards you, Dan, but Ryan from Dayton, Ohio. Hey, I'll love the podcast. Recent former GameStop manager. I wanted to send this in and share it with you. That Dan's story a few episodes ago about the manager that died in the store really struck a chord with me. Throughout the holiday season, it made me realize that to this corporation, I am just a number. They wouldn't care about me if I died. I would just be wheeled out for the next person to take the spot. I handed in my keys 2 days before Christmas, and I've never been happier.
Congrats.
Sure, it was shocking to my staff, but I need this change for myself and my family. I've already got another job lined up and ready to go, but I wanted to share this with you as a story. As a friend of mine shared this podcast with me, thanks again for helping me realize I needed to move on from this slowly dying dead end shithole of retail.
We saved another one.
You saved another one.
Welcome to the lighter side. I love the fact they turned in his keys 2 days before Christmas. That's a great.
It's a good fuck you. Later, I agree.
Goodbye, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks that we have to use an example of someone dying for
it does
this to happen, and like let's be clear that like GameStop is not the only place that would do this.
Oh no, for sure.
So many places would do this to you, where if you died, they drag your body over to the corner and put somebody standing where you were before. But I mean, GameStop is especially harsh because you might be one of 3 people that actually work at that store. So it's only getting crazier, man. Like I just like my old district. I think
they realigned it again.
Well, I'm sure they did. As of one of the last conferences I went to, that we have like a group photo of it that gets shared around every so often amongst all of us that still talk. There's one person left from that entire photo. There's probably one of my best friends out of that group still works there, but it's like it got to a point I think last year where we'd be like it'd be easier to cross out the people that still work there. And it's just like it was down to 3 people, and then somebody left, and then another person left right after it, which vacated, another 2 stores, because remember, they all have 2 stores now. So now that's 2 stores that don't have a manager. So now they got to find somebody else to cover 2 or 3 stores. It's just, it is wild. SL3, 4. We're in mid-January. So there's going to be a bunch of stores are going to close in the next couple months.
Absolutely.
As rents and stuff come up and they say, fuck it. Because like that's the whole plan. That's why they're.
Do you think there's any store at this point that is not on a 1-year lease, but like a multi-year?
I think it's more common to be on year to year. I would assume that if you're on a multi-year and it runs out, unless you're a major store or you're like, like we talked about, like the Brickyard, or if you're, let's say you're the GameStop in the Mall of America, you're probably not going.
You're probably
the
one of the last.
GameStop in our local large mall is probably not closing. But for my general area, there's one. Like the two I worked at are 10 minutes that way and 10 minutes that way. Do we need both of them? Probably not.
Probably not.
So it's going to be a race for stores that are too close to each other to see what happens with these like year-to-year rents and stuff. Because
for sure,
it's a nightmare. But I'm glad we saved another one. That's the most important part.
For sure. Yeah. So thank you for writing.
We're very happy.
Congrats, buddy.
Ryan. Yes.
Next email we have comes from Craig from Bedford, Pennsylvania. He says, "Hey guys, I have a question for y'all. With the release of Resident Evil 4 remake around the corner, where do you think Capcom goes from here with the series? The recent DLC release for Village had you playing in third-person perspective, while also supposedly ending the storyline of Ethan Winters and his family. Do you think the next entry returns to this camera style with a familiar character, or do you think they once again go with the first-person perspective and a new original character? Also, is Resident Evil 5 up next for a remake, or do you think they finally answer fans' prayers and remake Code Veronica? Thanks again and love the podcast." So this question's
that's for you.
Very much geared to me. The first thing I would say is I think absolutely whatever the next game is, Resident Evil 9, whatever they call it, and I hope they continue the goofy trend of like trying to tie the number into the title like they did with 7, like they did with Village, stupidly.
Well,
I think that's a great stupid trend, and I hope they continue it as long as they can, where it makes sense. I think they have taken a step back. They probably looked at and I don't know what the numbers are, but I have to imagine that the remakes of 2 and 3 sold more than 7 and Village, and probably were responded to a little bit better. Again, 7 was only made first person because it was a VR game. That's why they did it. 8,
7 was also the one
has VR support coming.
But 7 was also the one where they're like, fuck it, we're gonna change everything. And I think that was people got really into that though. Because it had gotten by the end of 6, like you're like, maybe we just need a break. And then 7 comes out and it changes everything. And I think 7 sold a lot, but 8
very well.
But 8, continues that, and I think 8 is again. Yeah, we're starting to get a little stale here. Maybe we got to change everything again.
I think you're going to get a change. I can totally see them going back to the third person camera. I think it lends itself really well to Resident Evil, but as proven even in that DLC, you can still do scary, creepy shit in third person.
For sure.
I mean, I talked about that DLC with the fucking mannequin thing that if you're not looking at it, it chases you. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool, and you can totally do that. I think 9, as far as are they going to do a new character, did they bring somebody back? I think the time is right to bring somebody back that hasn't been used. I always say that, but I think Chris has been overdone. We can put him to the side.
Yeah.
Leon we can put to the side because he's just got 2 remakes. I think you do something with Jill or Claire.
Sheva.
Yeah.
Or bring back Sheva. I would love to bring back Sheva.
Was
That's
awesome.
A forgotten.
Yeah,
Sheva was awesome.
I told you, get Sheva and Helena from 6, and that's a team up.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I would be happy with that.
I
think a lot of fans would be.
Yeah. 2 good
that.
new characters.
But I think 9. My guess is I think it will be third person. I think that makes the most sense. As far as what they remake next, I mean, I can't I understand remaking 4. I can't understand remaking 5 at this point. I mean, for me, would they answer fans? I mean, fans want Code Veronica. I could totally see that happening, and that's a game that totally needs a remake. Whereas 5, what do you do there? That's pretty modern.
I don't think 5 is next. I think it will happen.
I think it'll happen down the road.
It's pretty modern, like you said, but you can clean it up. There's parts of that game that need to be cleaned up, and
the other reason why I would say Code Veronica makes sense is right now, the only ways to play that game are there's backwards compatibility on both systems.
Yeah.
There's a PS4 to PS2 version on there, and then on Xbox there's a 360.
How about we just get our Outbreak remakes and be happy with that?
There you go. Why don't we just remake that since they keep failing with multiplayer Resident Evil ideas?
Right.
Why not just bring back the one that worked?
Outbreak. Great game.
There you go. Problem solved.
Fun. PS2 game.
Or bring back Mercenaries mode. Make a Mercenaries only game.
Like the 3DS game? Yeah. Put the 3DS game on Console. There you go.
Yeah.
Done.
Do what they did with Crisis Core.
Yeah,
exactly.
Done.
I would be all into that. That game was cool. But yeah, my answers are: I think you get third person mode for 9. They bring back a somewhat familiar character, but I just really hope it's not Chris or Leon.
Sheva would be awesome.
Yeah, do Sheva. I would be really happy with that. And then as far as that, I mean, I would like to see Code Veronica, but who knows? Who knows what they do next? Next email we have comes from Jamie from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He says, "Hi all. This question is for those of you that worked at GameStop. I was just curious, how often did you have someone come in and look for a recommendation that came back saying they didn't like it? For example, let's say you recommended a game you thought the customer liked and they didn't. Thanks."
All the time. Like I can think of specific examples.
I mean, I can think of the assistant manager that kept recommending.
Well, we've gone over that before.
But that was dumb.
About that again.
I'm trying to think of. Here's the thing I remember the most, and this was a you thing, but I remember, and this wasn't This was a recommendation to not buy a game, and that was when that stupid 7 Days to Die game came out, and that guy came in and bought it brand new, and we both told that guy like, I wouldn't do this.
Yeah,
man.
Don't do that.
This is a known bad version of this game. You cannot return this if you purchase this.
Yeah, it's funny because
you can only trade it in. And then several hours later, he came back.
We would. It's funny because the opposite is true. There was a lot of times where people would want to buy a game. We'd try to be like, "Hey, man, just so you know, this game is not very good. Maybe you should pick something." It's up to you. Like, I'm not going to stop you from buying anything. I don't care about that, but I'll try to help you find something different.
I remember more of those situations than I do like telling somebody like, "Hey, this is a really good one," and then they come back and they're like,
"No." Here's a specific example of what a nightmare it was to have to recommend games to people. So there was this one specific guy, and he would come in. You know, I worked mostly morning shifts, so he would come in like on a Wednesday at like 11 o'clock. He's probably 5-10 years older than me. Like, why you're not working, I don't know. But he would come in and he was awful because he would go to like this is back when PS3 was still kind of big. And he would go to the PS3 wall and he'd be like, "Hey man, what's a good game?" I hate when people would ask me that. What's a good game? It's like, that's not a good question. Then you'd have to sit there and hammer away for like however long it would take. Like, what kind of games do you like? What kind of games do you play regularly? What, you have to try to hammer it in. And this guy would tell me, I like, and he was so generic. I like RPGs or racing or whatever. But I specifically remember having a conversation with him where I listed probably 15 to 20 games, just like looking at stuff on the wall. I played that. I don't like it. I played that. I don't like it. I played every single game. And it literally got to a point where I was getting pissed off at the guy. So I finally said in my like half joking, half sarcastic asshole tone at the end, it's like, "Well, man, I guess you're done. I guess you played it all." And he was just like, and he kind of like laughed, and I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm being serious. Like, you're kind of out of options at this point. Like, you don't want to play any of this stuff. You played everything.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing left for me to tell you." Like especially on PS3, we all know that like PS3 has like 30 really good games, and then some okay games, and then just like crap at the bottom. A lot of garbage.
Bottom of the barrel.
But that would happen all the time. And then finally he'd pick something out, buy it, and then he would just return it. And it's just like, whatever, dude. But then he would ask me the same question again. "What's a good game?" Dude, you were here last week. Nothing has changed. Like, if anything, I'm out of stuff. Yeah, just like, you do your best to recommend stuff, and like I said, you ask questions to be like, my favorite thing to ask was like, "What are you playing right now that you like? What's your favorite game on the console that you like?" And work backwards from that. Like, and from our standpoint, and I didn't have time to play all this shit. I would take stuff I heard from customers, stuff I read, all kinds of stuff to try to keep up on stuff. Like, I'll tell you a secret right now: I've never played a Ratchet and Clank game in my life.
I've only played the PS4 remake.
Absolutely none of them. No. Not that I don't care. Not that I don't like them. I just don't care. I was just never interested. Do not give a shit. But I can tell you everything about every one of them if you want, because that's what I had to do. Yeah, it's just I hated wasting time for people like that. Or the people that want you to recommend them something and then just go with the first choice that they came in asking for anyway. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, I just wasted 20 minutes of my life doing this.
And they don't buy anything.
Or they don't buy anything. Like, and that's fine. Like, but make your intentions known when you come in. It's like, oh, hey man, I'm just looking around. Awesome. Yeah. You look around, you have a question about something, you ask me. But yeah, it would happen. Like a lot of people, you know what's funny is that people asking for recommendations actually doesn't come up as much as you think it does. I feel like a lot of times when people go to a game store, it's one of two things. You're either A, you're just kind of looking to see if something might catch your interest, or B, you're there for a specific reason and you want this game. And you have convinced yourself you want this game. Like it shouldn't be up to me to convince you. Now, would I recommend stuff like for pre-orders? Of course. Part of that was my job. Part of it was me getting hyped for stuff. Like we talked about it last episode with like LA Noire. I tried to get people hyped for that game. And but
I love that game.
Yeah, I love it too, but you have to explain to people what that game is. And
because a lot of people, they see the Rockstar logo and they think, it's the next GTA.
Exactly.
It's not. No. You're not going to get in the car and just run people over.
Or the perfect example, there were two other great examples of like trying to get people hyped for games because I knew what was going to happen, was Borderlands, because no one would fucking listen to me when I told people like this game,
the original,
this game will sell out. It will be gone. You will not be able to get it.
I remember.
Because if people don't reserve it, we won't. And that was in the time where they would send us extra copies of stuff. But I tried to tell people it didn't matter. This will be gone. That was a horrible one. Dead Island, the first one, was a terrible.
That was bad. That was bad.
It would be months.
And I learned my lesson from Borderlands because that was for me. I was like, I don't know. And then one of my buddies had bought it, and then we went and played like a little split screen.
Can't find it.
Like, no, I actually want this. It took like 2 or 3 days till I could get a copy. Yeah. So when Dead Island hit, I was like, I'll just reserve it. And then obviously, I didn't care for Dead Island after you got into
but Dead Island, it would take months for us to get copies. I remember there was, this is kind of going a little off topic, but this is a good story, where we used to have a store in Hoffman Estates, which was in kind of a fancier area, but it was a dead store. Like I covered it a couple times. It was really, really slow.
I know exactly the story.
And I got to know some people that worked there. And at one point, somebody had bought a copy, they got a copy of Dead Island returned and sealed. And we were like, wow, that's insane, considering that game is like gold right now. And then she sold it to literally the next person. The guy goes outside, opens it, comes back in. It was like a burned disc of something else. Somebody had was swapping copies and returning them for cash because it was such a hot title. But yeah, it was just like that game was a nightmare. And then Payday 2. You remember that. Could not get a copy.
Payday 2 was nuts. Payday 2 is nuts. The one I was going to mention, because you mentioned that Hoffman Estate store was the one where like the desk and everything was way in the back.
Yeah, and it had auto shut off lights.
Okay. So another good one, Demon Souls. When the Steam picked up on that and people started talking about it, you could not find a copy. I had to go to that Hoffman Estate store to get my copy of Demon Souls. And I agree, like there was literally nobody there.
Yeah, it was a weird store.
GameStop I'd ever been in. Yeah.
Bad location, bad design.
But they had it.
The counter was at the back, and the one day I worked there, nobody bothered to tell me that A, it was dead all the time, and B, the lights had their own shut-off timer. So at one point, because it didn't catch me moving because I was just doing nothing, and the lights just shut off, and I was like, "The fuck is this?" So I start walking around, and I turn back on. I'm like, "Oh my god, it's so dead here. The lights are turning off." But that was the biggest part of trying to recommend stuff. Was trying to recommend stuff at a time that I just knew was going to be a problem, and
for sure.
But yeah.
Well, that would be the same too. Like if somebody ever came in and like wanted one of those like weird JRPGs or something, where you'd be like, if you want this, you need to reserve this because we'll get either one or zero.
We'll get your copy, maybe an extra one, and hell, these days we might not even get your copy. So
yeah, exactly. So, next email we have, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is our first email we have from somebody in Canada.
Ooh. I want to say we had one,
maybe one early on.
Yeah.
This comes to us from Brandon from Cross Lake, Manitoba, Canada. Says, "Hi dudes, question for those of you that have played Vampire Survivors. Do you think that the game will make it to other platforms like Switch and PlayStation, or do you think that the console front Microsoft has it locked down as an exclusive? I currently own a PS5 and a Switch, and it just seems silly for me to buy a console and play a game that is sub $6.71 Canadian. Is this game really, really that good? And this Game Pass thing really worth it? I guess I'm on the fence about getting an Xbox. What do you all think? Thanks. Love the podcast. I mean, the first thing I would tell you, as someone who loves Vampire Survivors, don't buy a $500
Please don't.
Yeah,
like,
it's probably not a smart move, but
I mean, this is a game you can download and play for free on your phone, as we discussed earlier in the podcast. Now, is that a great version of the game? It's not a great version, but if you want an idea of how the game plays, it's a great way to try it. Now, if you're looking at buying an Xbox because you want to get into Game Pass, that's a different conversation, and there's a lot of value there. Even and I mean, you didn't mention here. I don't know if you're looking at a Series X or a Series S. I mean, if you're looking at the system just for Game Pass, the Series S is a great option, and you can get external storage for it as well if you need to increase that. But I would say if you're looking at the system because of Game Pass, that's definitely worth getting the system for that.
Yeah.
But just for Vampire Survivors, no. And that comes from somebody who loves and adores this dumb $5 game. Well, don't buy a system for it.
The Game Pass thing too, like, again, all you need is an S because you already have another system that you primarily game on. And realistically, the question is like, do you want to play Starfield? You have to. And going forward, it's only going to be.
You want to play Redfall?
Redfall, you have to.
You have to.
Do you want access to every other Bethesda game made? It's there. Do you want access to every Microsoft game made? It's there. Like
pretty much there.
Like it's just Game Pass, and plus like other stuff comes in and out. Like the Persona games are coming. Like again, they're on the system he has, but they're free on that system. If
you have the subscription.
Free. But or like the Monster Hunter Rise game is coming out. Like you will find
pretty cool if you like.
You will find a lot of value on Game Pass as long as you kind of like pay attention and just see what is new every month. But for the Xbox library and the Bethesda library alone, it is worth it.
Yes,
like by
absolutely,
far.
Especially if you never played like Fallout 4, even 76 is worth playing today. Obviously, we've talked about, but like. I mean, literally every Bethesda, and I'm not even just talking about RPGs. I mean, if you want to play Doom or Doom Eternal, those recent ones, Wolfenstein, those are all on there. There's a plethora of great Bethesda
Indiana
games.
Jones will be
when
on
that
there.
Comes out, that'll be on there.
Like,
absolutely. So
yeah, it's just like it's great value that keeps its value. Like it never
it
goes
does
backwards.
I never have gotten to a point where I'm like, wow, this is really weak. There's always something to play on there, be it a big release or maybe you stumble into some smaller indie thing you didn't even know. Like a good example would be, and it's more celebrated now, but that Tunic game.
Yeah.
Oh God,
that's a great indie
game.
Exactly. There's stuff like that in Game Pass that adds a bunch of value to that subscription. As well.
is on PlayStation and stuff, but it's included on Xbox.
Game
Pass.
You're paying your 15 or whatever the Canadian version of that is. I'm not going to do that math right now, but you pay that, monthly, or even if you do a yearly version of it, you have access to all those games until you let that subscription lapse.
Do you think
they're not going to go anywhere?
Do you think Vampire Survivors is going to come over to other systems?
It
feels like it should.
I feel like it should.
To be honest, I'm shocked it hasn't.
Yeah, whereas I just read that thing about High on Life the other day where that game, and I can understand that because Microsoft paid some money for development there. They didn't pay money for development of Vampire Survivors.
No, not at all.
So I would think we're to the point where you get maybe a 3 to 6 month window, and then all of a sudden hey, it's coming on Switch and PlayStation.
It might be one of those things where
I think
it's on the eShop today, and
I think what's going to happen, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Go.
I think exactly what's going to happen is one of these Nintendo Directs, you're going to get that is, hey, you've heard about this Vampire Survivors. Get ready to sling in on the Switch.
Slide into the screen.
Exactly.
And goes,
and it's
let's
Switch
take a
again.
Look at something to suck your blood. And then
exactly.
it goes into the game or something.
I'll give you a fun fact. Do you know that there are actually still, even with this DLC, no vampires in Vampire Survivors?
Wow.
And somebody asked that guy, are you ever going to put vampires? Maybe one day.
That's great.
That's crazy, man.
God, that game, amazing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I might
don't
go play
buy a
around
system for it. Next email we have here, Greg from Redacted, so you know what that means.
My favorite.
Hi, Hi all, GameStop manager here. Over the holidays, I had to kick out a customer who wasn't happy about what we were going to offer them in trade.
Oh boy.
He didn't have anything incredibly special, just a VCR Xbox One with some games from that
I
launch.
assume he means
However,
like the original one, right?
Yeah,
like
that's what the
big
VCR one
box.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, he was
Jesus.
looking for $400 cash.
Oh my god.
And there's just no way he could get anything close to that. His total in cash was coming up to 106 after everything. So that'd be the system, games, and whatnot.
Mhm.
He became so erratic about it that he stayed in the store and started going up to random customers offering to sell it to them. I asked him to leave several times, but he refused, saying he wasn't doing anything wrong. With the times we live in, I feared for my safety, so I ended up having to call the police on him, and they helped remove him from the store. My question is, did either of you worked at GameStop ever have any crazy situations where you needed to kick out a customer?
I mean,
I don't know if we ever.
there's definitely times
there
where like
definitely
people
were assholes.
would not agree with the trade values for sure. I
Oh,
laugh at this
God.
because $400 cash, that would have been hard to get a month after that system came out for all that stuff.
Mhm.
A decade
There
later,
you
I
go.
got my VCR
That's how
Xbox One.
GameStop works, people. Like it's
No.
specifically designed to make money off of the stuff you trade in. Like that is
Yeah.
the business model. So there are plenty of times where people would be pissed or disgusted. I can think of one time I had to kick a guy out during a trade process. This was when I was at SGA at the original location I worked at, where this guy, he was in there with him, it was like him, his wife, and his son, and they were trading in maybe DS games at the time or something, or PS2. And I was going through the process and scanning stuff, and it was like, even then PS2 stuff, this would have been 2010. Was
Okay.
cheap. It would be like
You're not going to
$2,
get
$4, whatever. And I remember giving him the total and being like, it's for a stack of games. It was, we'll say 50 credit, 40 cash, something like that. And him just immediately getting pissed off. That's ridiculous. This is I can't believe blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. This is what we give. You're more than welcome to keep them. Like, no one is forcing you to trade this stuff in. He starts getting pissed and like, finally says, fine, whatever, I'll take the cash. And I said, okay, well, I need, the easiest thing to do for a trade, especially for cash, was just give me your driver's license or a state ID, because I got to type all this crap in anyway. It's easier, especially around here. I don't know if that's the same everywhere, but here it was, we needed driver's license numbers. Guy refuses to give me his license. I'm like, okay, well, I need this information or I can't go past this. He goes, well, you don't need to see my license. I'm like, well, I kind of do, but I said,
you want cash?
Well, I was like, all right, and he's like, well, fine, I'll just take credit or something. And you don't need a license number for credit. Important distinction.
True.
But I still need your name and your address and a phone number and all that other kind of stuff. I make an account.
Mm-hmm.
What? All right, fine. Credit, fine, whatever. What's your name? I'm not telling you that. Excuse me? Excuse me, what? Oh, I'm not. You don't need my name for this. I absolutely do. Yeah. You can put down Mr. X. I'm not going to do that. This guy, he just starts getting like borderline hostile.
Yeah.
And I said, and I was like, and he was like, put down Mr. X. I said, fine. And then I was like, all right, Mr. X, what's your address? Because I need that too. You don't need that. I said, and I just pushed the games back over to him. And I said, we're done here. You can go. Yeah. And he goes, this is, you can't do, you have to take it. And I said, I do not. Like, who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
Leave.
He's Mr. X.
Yeah, and he starts stomping. Mr. X, dude. But he starts like stomping, and as he was leaving, I said, "Don't bother going to the other store. I'm going to tell them what you did." Like I said this to this guy because he finally pushed me. Like I probably shouldn't have said that because the other store this was when they were 2 minutes away, maybe.
Yeah,
you could come through parking lots to get there. That's how close these stores were.
Pretty much, that's how close they were. Yeah,
and he kind of
and you know that it's exactly what the dude was.
That's what he was thinking. So he huffed and he stomped out, and I never saw him again. But yeah, that was the time I had to kick out Mr. X. I can't remember a time I've ever needed police to escort someone. I have had people. I do remember cases of people being pissed about cash value and trying to sell it in the store, and I said, "You can't do that in here. You have to go outside if you're going to do that." And they would be like, "Well, that's ridiculous." I'm like, I don't want you. You can't do it in here. Like, you can't be making deals with customers in here. So I made him go outside, but then he was starting to harass people in front of the door, and I finally stuck my head. I was like, "You got to go. Like, you can't do it out here."
Yeah. The two that I remember, we never had anybody that I specifically had to kick out of the store. But the two situations I remember, one was like maybe the Sunday before the Xbox One or the PS4, whatever one of those systems were coming out. We had crazy trade deals where people were just bringing boatloads of games systems.
Yeah.
But back when, original podcast 572 sub host Eric was on here. This is back when he was working at GameStop. We had a particular gentleman who was very unhappy that we wouldn't take any of his ridiculous collector's editions of 360.
Oh, yeah.
More value. This dude had like the GTA 5 collector's edition. Like everything was collector's edition. This dude threw such a temper tantrum to the point that I literally had to tell him, I'm like, either you get what you get here or we're not going to take anything. And you can pack it all up and go to a different store. Like, I don't care. Like, because he just kept throwing such a huge fit because he'd take that, then he'd take the game out and then put all this collector stuff back in his bag.
People never understood that.
To Eric, and I had to step in and be like, "Come on, man."
The only thing that mattered for a trade-in at GameStop was the disc itself. It did not matter the level of anything else you had with it. It was the disc.
And I'll give you another little secret. If you were somebody that's coming in and trading in a collector's edition,
that comes home
more than likely that GameStop employee that was working, they took the rest of that collector's edition stuff,
or they bought the game for the used price.
Exactly.
That's how I got a lot of random like steel books.
I got a lot of steel books. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the only other one I can remember, and this wasn't I didn't kick this person out, but there was a morning I opened where some guy came in and he clearly was on some sort of drug. And he came in, he did a lap around the store. He was profusely sweating. And he stopped at the desk. I mean, I'm talking sweating to the point he's sweating onto the counter. And he looks at me and he goes, where, this was back when Dollar Tree was still open. He goes, where's the, or not Dollar Tree,
Big Lots?
The other GNC.
Oh.
Where's the GNC? I'm like, look at him. Like, he get like hostilely asking me this. I'm like, it's literally down like the shopping center here.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's down there.
It's down there. And I had to walk to the window and show him. Okay. And he leaves the store. Like maybe 2-3 minutes later, these two girls come in from the trampoline place. And they're like, was some old guy just in the store asking about GNC? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, he's doing some weird stuff outside. I'm like, okay, I'll call non-emergency.
Yeah.
And we'll get him out of here because something was going on. He was on drugs. But I didn't kick him out. Like, he just left on his own accord. But that was a weird situation where I'm like, I don't, like, what is happening here?
The only other, like, there were times when I worked at Game Crazy, especially, where I would have to kick out teenagers constantly. Because the quote unquote problem with that store is we were in the same parking lot as the movie theater. So how it would work on like Friday, Saturday nights is mommy and daddy would drop Tyler and his buddies off at the movie theater. And when they were done, they'd walk over to our strip thing because we had the coffee place, us, and Hollywood Video. And they would wait for mommy and daddy. They were so cool, but they had to wait for mommy and daddy to come pick them up. And they would fuck around in my store constantly. And I'd be like, get out. Everybody get out. Cannot wait.
Absolutely.
No.
I mean, we would get some of that on Friday and Saturday night because of the trampoline place, like in the summer for sure.
But that wasn't that bad.
Not compared to a movie.
Well, and then there was other times where the other thing during the day, the other thing we had in our strip center at Game Crazy was we get a tanning place. So mommy would get her tan on and drop her little kid off in my store for me to babysit for an hour. When I finally caught on to what was happening after like a week or two, because she would go multiple times a week. After I finally caught on, the one time when she came in to pick up her kid, I said, "You cannot leave him here again. The next time you do, I will call the police. You cannot call the police on me. Would you like to find out?" Never saw her.
That's good. Would you like to find out?
She's like, I'm not responsible for your child. What if he fell and got hurt in here and you're gone? I know where you are. But I'm not leaving. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, I would have to kick out people for shitty reasons. For being a dick, it didn't happen. So a lot of times people would just puff and pack it up and call you a swear word and leave.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what that guy did with his collector's editions. I mean, he wasn't going to that was the other thing too, is like he was trading all his 360 stuff to get a PS4. And at that time, like, do you really want to cancel your PlayStation 4 reserve before the system's going to come out?
Please do.
I didn't think so,
yeah,
buddy.
please do.
I didn't think so, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah, I mean, that kind of sums that up.
Yeah,
So,
it would happen.
for sure. Next email we have comes from Sarah from Fort Worth, Texas. She says, "Hi all. I haven't heard any of you talk about retro collecting in a while. Are you all still doing it? Do you guys ever go to conventions to look for stuff? Thanks." I mean, for me, I do. I put a lot of that on the back. This time last year was when I fell into the Whatnot thing for a month. I was like going hard onto that until I was like, I need to just delete this app or it's going to take over my life. I have not been to a convention since pre-pandemic, but I'm finally going to be going in April.
So
we're going to
Kyle and I pretty much for a while there we were going.
It's the only one around us.
That's well, there's Chicago ones and other things, but they're not as big. They're not as big. But we go to Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee whenever, as often as we can. I went last year. Kyle couldn't make it. But we're going this year.
Yes.
We always go to the Saturday show and we just we drive up there and hang out. And then like a couple of our friends are going to be there too. And that's like probably my main collecting for the year. I'm always looking. Like if I go to Half Price every so often. The place is incredibly hit or miss. And most of the time it's a miss, especially on price. But, yeah, so like I'm always looking. If I go to a thrift store or something, I'll look. I'll go to there's like a little pawn shop kind of near where I work. I pop in every couple weeks just to see. Again, pricing is subject to.
I was gonna say that's more of a just to chuckle.
That's more of a laugh kind of a thing, and just to see if they get anything. We used to have back when Kyle lived closer. We used to have like a mom and pop game store around us. It sucked, but it existed. It existed. There's another one I went to a couple months ago, which is probably the biggest one still kind of around here. Pricing again subject, but I got a couple things on deals and I traded in some crap. If the opportunity arose, I would go all the time, but it's also I got kids and my wife works and I work, and it's just like the time is a bitch.
I'd say like our big one is the Midwest Gaming Classic. I'm looking forward to going to that this year. There's always something
easier to get deals there, just because it is a convention and you can pick a couple things up. And like, remember there was the one year we went and these two dudes who I'd never seen them before, and we'd been there a couple times before. They had a 2 tables length, name a Super Nintendo game, and they had it kind of a thing. And I'm talking like Star Fox competition cartridge level of name a game, and they have it. Kind of thing. So the table was full, and Kyle and I were like, let's just grab a bunch and see what happens. So we each grabbed like 4 or 5, and I think the total was like 130 or 140. And we're like, would you just? If
there were some heavy,
there were heavy hitters too, like weird stuff you don't see. It's like we just grabbed a bunch, and it was like 140 or something. And we just told the guy, we're like, look, we'll buy these like 8 or 9 games. Would you just take 100? And the guys were like, yeah, whatever. We don't care. Because it turned out, because I asked them what was going on, and it turned out like they were selling it for somebody else. Somebody had gotten sick, or somebody might have died or something. But they were
something like that.
They were basically selling it to get money for someone else.
Yeah.
It was cool. Like, and their prices were already fair, and then they were willing to deal. So for sure. That's why we go to the shows, because it's much easier to get deals. I kind of make a list of 10 to 15 things I'm like, I really want before we go, or I have an idea of like, I'm looking for Game Boy games this year. Kind of. And that's what I did last time, where I got the Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 for Game Boy Complete. Like, that was a great pickup, and the guy gave me a deal. This year, my goal is to get the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy for the PS3, just so I don't have that in for PS3.
Okay.
And maybe I'll get lucky and find some guy who has all 3 and get him as a deal. But the good thing is maybe I'll find 1 here and 2 there and 3 there. And I have a lot more fun doing that. I just kind of save up money to kind of do it all at once.
I'll be looking for specifically like original Xbox, and then probably 360. still, because 360 is still like
affordable.
You can find really good deals on the stuff. Yeah,
stuff
we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, stuff like GameCube is just out of control.
The other thing that I do, and hopefully this year, Dan, you'll be able to tag along finally. But there's a specific in I'd say middle part of the state that we live in. There's a game store that I like to go to.
We see them at the show.
We'll be going. They
but
actually are a
been,
vendor at the show.
I've never been to the thing.
The store is awesome.
We need to we need to do a day trip where like we go there and we go to the other one. And
it's really cool.
Kind of hit them up.
So,
what about you, Matt? Like, what do you? I know you still.
Yeah, what do you do?
So I still do my thing. I have a buddy of mine that we actually go to yard sales like when the season picks up.
Mm-hmm.
We normally communicate with each other. We've been friends for like years now, and we both got into like pop collecting, and then like he was retro collecting as I was retro collecting, and we were working together, and then we started talking about it. So like now he will like we'll talk about like whether or not we're going to this yard sale and this family yard sale, and then we'll kind of be like, hey man, what did you find? Did you find anything? You want to trade off anything like that? I'm still actively hunting. Like, so I'm actually going to Atlanta tomorrow, and I'm supposed to be trying to hit a couple of comic stores and a couple of video game stores while
you're going to
be
sending us pictures of stuff.
Well, I'm always on the hunt for you guys. I know you guys got stuff that I always keep in mind.
Well, the cool thing is like having like friends like this who we actually.
Hey man, you found me that copy of Wet.
We like it. We like each. Yeah, but like we like each other, and we kind of like we'll be like, here's what I'm looking at. Is there anything you guys want? Like kind of a thing, and like
for sure.
We try to help each other find stuff. Like we used to work with a guy who was the opposite of that.
God.
And he would just bug the shit. Like he didn't even care about it until I started working there, and he found out I collected stuff, and then he went hard into it and like made it his goal in life.
Never understood.
To find. It's like
never understood.
As if we work together, we could all benefit from this. But
exactly.
He specifically did not.
I never understood it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for me myself, I still actively do it. I haven't picked anything up recently. I've been finding a lot more like clearance deals for like the PS4 and stuff like that. And so I've been trying to find random stuff there that I can buy. But I was going to take some stuff. There's a local, I guess it's an antique store where people have like, it's a pretty big strip mall. And people have like booths inside of this antique store.
We got one around here too.
Yeah,
you got one of those around
here.
All right. So one of the I found out one of those booths was like a retro game, and I think last time I was there, he had like sealed copies of a PS2 game. I can't remember it, but he had a good selection of stuff, and it looks like he's expanded more. So he was looking for some Sega Saturn stuff. And so I was like looking through my collection of stuff that I think I could part with.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if I take some of that stuff, maybe me and him can do an even out trade for like other things that I'm actively hunting for that I don't really need right now. So
yeah, I always tell.
I think I might do that on Monday.
Cal knows the story about me with like I ended up with a copy of Musha Complete in Genesis. And I always say like, man, one of these days I should just bring it to that show. And try to find somebody who's got like Harvest Moon for Super Nintendo and be like, look, man.
You should do that this year.
I would much rather have that than this. And you would probably rather have this than that. Let's make it work. Because while the odds are I will never own a copy of Musha ever again. I love it. I don't like it's a cool I played it. To be fair, I played it.
It doesn't it doesn't have the nostalgia for you that Harvest Moon
growing up. So like I don't have an attachment to it, but something like Harvest Moon for Super Nintendo, which is hard to find, especially like if I could find a complete copy to work out something for that, that is something I would much rather have. Like my
that Musha is complete. Like it has the
registration card or whatever the fuck the thing is.
Dude, take it with you.
My
man.
favorite part is that sat in a garbage bag for decades because my buddy was cleaning out his stuff. He's like, "You want all this stuff?" Yeah, man.
Sure, man.
Gave me that. I'm like, you sure? He's like, I don't care. but again, it's because he knows I'm not going to sell it. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
And the thing about like this Musha is like, I'm not selling it. I would want to trade it for something because one of my favorite things to collect for, obviously, is Super Nintendo. We all love it. But my favorite thing is like to get random bullshit games. like the games that you just don't ever see. Like my buddy was at a store a couple months ago. He took a picture of all the Super Nintendo stuff. And I was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Give me that Untouchables game for Super Nintendo." Like, I haven't, like, oh fuck, have I seen that? And like, and it's not a rare game, but you don't see it. So, and it was like $12. I'm like, yeah, give me the fucking Untouchables game. I don't care. I love collecting like dumbass Super Nintendo, like weird Super Nintendo. Like, I remember one of the games we bought from that guy at the table. I got toys for Super Nintendo just because it was like, grab another game, put it in there, see what happens.
Yeah, but, exactly.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing is like, is just getting little bits and pieces of things. I'm like, last year, like I said, I got those 2 Spider-Man games complete, and then I found Spider-Man 3 loose later. I was like, let's just do it. Let's get all 3 of them this year. Yeah. That's something.
The one thing that store down south has that I want bad, and one of the times I go, I'm gonna make an offer because they're selling it for $600. I could probably, if I offer, I could make an offer on it. They have a completely working Xbox 360 light up sign. I need to have that. I need to own that.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope,
from like a display or something. And it's one of those things where like once we finish our basement, I would like to put it there, like above my 360 collection.
It's like I've got that PlayStation and that Xbox.
One of these times I'm gonna go and be like, I know you're selling it for this, but what would you take for this? Because there's nobody going in there asking for that thing.
Yeah, I have my light up PlayStation 1 and Xbox signs that.
Those are cool, but you have the most important,
one and the Funko one. But
you should never get rid of that.
But the only thing I would ever consider would be some kind of original Super Nintendo thing.
Yeah.
Was there ever
far more important to me
than PlayStation or Xbox? Was there ever a Game Crazy light up sign like that?
No.
Okay.
Not that we have.
I was gonna say, I could see somebody being like, "Would you trade for a Game Crazy?"
I would honestly rather have a Game Crazy light up than a Funko.
I know.
Because the only reason the Funko sign is important to me is because it is from my store.
It's the store that we
if it wasn't from my store, it would still be very cool, but I would not care.
No, it's important because it's the original
sign. It
is
my store's original Funko.
It's amazing that you found that. Yeah.
And
I'm impressed that it lasted up on that thing all those years. Nobody ever uncovered it.
Well, it lasted until my old boss worked there.
Oh, that's right. They took it.
He took it, and it sat in his basement for decades. And then when he found out my store was closing, he's like, "I still got that sign. Do you want it?" And I said, "Yeah, I mean, if you don't want it, for sure. Like, it means a lot to me." But a Game Crazy light up sign. We didn't.
It has to exist.
We didn't have one, but they had. But also, our store was.
They had to exist.
Because our store for a long time had, because they changed their logo about 3 or 4 years into when I started working there. It became the Flame, and not like the X one we had.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So we still had a lot of the old X signage around because it was like built into the store. So I would assume at some point some store had a neon like of the Flame logo because it was a lot cleaner and easier to make. I would kill for that, but yeah. I mean, so yes, we do retro collect. We just don't do it as much because I don't have as many opportunities.
No,
but the show is kind of like my blowout. Let's go for
me
it
too.
Every year.
That's my like. I got some money from tax.
We should find whenever the next like Chicago-based one is. We should find that and just go and just see what it is.
What you need to do this year, and I mention it every year, but I for sure this year because my girlfriend wants to go again. We have not gone since pre-pandemic. You need to come with me to the all.
Yes, I want to do that.
What an incredible!
My wife would be into that too. I mean, obviously they're probably because it's around Halloween, right?
There's 2. There's one in August. There's one in Halloween. I've not been to the spooky one, but the one in August is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just you'll find a lot of people selling video games. There's all sorts of shit. It's really fun.
And I love.
I might have to ride up there.
It's really cool.
You should, man. Like
it's worth it.
MGC
it's
next year. I'm telling you, man. Get up here and
you come up here and
do
it.
I was telling Kyle, I think next year. I think I talked to my wife and I was like, "What do you think about it? Like, would you be down to ride up there and like take like part of the week off and just kind of go up?" And she was like, "Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun."
Yeah,
and
then my kids end of March, early April is typically.
Then my kids were like, "Can we go too?" And I was like, "I don't know if I want y'all."
This year. Yeah. What day are we going this year? Hang on, we're going
Saturday. It's April 1st.
Yeah, April Fool's Day, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when we go. And MGC, it's a good time. And this year it's supposed to be bigger.
It's supposed to be bigger. They expanded that pinball room.
Playing pinball machines.
I can't wait.
It's great.
I love looking at those pinball
nice.
machines. 89 Batman. Look forward every year. Next email, we got 2 emails left. Right. Next email comes from Bill from Peoria, Illinois. This one's geared towards me. It says, hey, dudes, I was curious with Kyle being a dire Castlevania fan, his thoughts about how Konami is out there stating that 2023 is going to be huge for them. Do you think that we will see some sort of resurrection of the Castlevania franchise? And if so, what do you think it looks like, or what would you even want to see at this point? It's been 9 years since the last quote-unquote new Castlevania game, which was Lords of Shadow 2. Also, do you think they touched Metal Gear Solid at all, or do you think they learned with Survive? Thanks. If they do anything with Metal Gear Solid, it's that long-rumored remake.
I think they learned from the first Survive to not do anything other than Metal Gear Solid. No.
And I think if you want to make a good faith effort on that game for the remake of it, you bring back David Hayter and those voice actors that are still with us, and they do the voices for the remake. But if they do anything with Metal Gear Solid, that's what they do. They don't do a new one. As far as Castlevania goes, it's weird between what I would like to see, what they would probably do. I mean, I think a lot of people would like to see a Symphony of the Night 2 or that style of game. I don't know necessarily if they do that, because you look at Bloodstained, that pretty much was Symphony of the Night 2.
And it was a great game.
And it was amazing game. And we're going to get a Bloodstained 2. That's already known. I mean, I would like to see someone take a crack at a 3D Castlevania like they did with Lords of Shadow and just reboot it at this point. I think that's what I would do with it. And we're going back to the 360 generation. We're 2 generations past that. You can do something pretty technically crazy now today with 3D. And I know there's people obviously that disagree, but I think at least with Lords of Shadow, the first one, that was finally for me the one where they figured out how to do a 3D.
I liked that game. I actually played that game.
I liked the first one. Good. The second one is just the story was bad. Yeah. Like they had a lot of good ideas in 2, but
because I remember trying to play like those PS2 3D ones, and they just didn't work because the camera was at such like a weird.
Camera was terrible. Layman and Innocence had a terrible camera.
Weird top corner angle where like you could not. The depth perception was super off. And jumping mattered in that game, and it was terrible.
Curse of Darkness, they kind of fixed the camera, but that's just a weird fucking game. Mm-hmm. I would like to see it doesn't have to be Lords of Shadow. I mean, I would reboot it at this point.
I think
I would.
You know what the smartest?
You can bring back characters like Alucard and stuff.
You know what the smartest thing to do right now, if they want to be like it's a celebration of Castlevania or whatever, remaster or remake Symphony of the Night. Like but that's to start it. Like we're doing this, and then we're going to make a new one, or separate it where 3D entries are on PS5 and Xbox Series X, and you get a Castlevania Symphony of the Night style game for Switch, which can handle side to side better. In like because they made all those DS ones, which are incredible, and the Game Boy Advance ones, which are incredible. Continue that series on Switch.
Man, those were good. Yeah. All of those, and I own them all. Obviously.
But then you can have both. You can have both worlds. Like Castlevania does not need to be one or the other. It can be both.
Another thing that I would do if you want to be real hard about it, go back and just remake the first one in 3D today. Like obviously expand it, do a bunch of crazy stuff with story and everything. Don't just remake that verbatim, but do that.
Another quick thing, if you want, you want a cash influx, remaster the Game Boy Advance ones for Switch. If you can do, if Capcom can do the Mega Man Battle Network shit on a thing, you can do that.
So the Game Boy Advance, that is a collection that exists. What needs to happen is the DS.
Okay, that's what
I have the collection. Yeah. So they did, I was gonna say because I know
the Advance one.
They did that.
Yeah,
the DS ones are a little tricky because
you got to figure out
the first one had that super integrated touch screen bullshit, and then they got away with that. The other two are just your second screen is the map.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if they can figure that out, I would love to see those games because Order of Ecclesia, incredible game. That's the only time you get to play as Shinoa, which is the name of one of my cats. So, and that's an incredible character.
So there's a world where both can happen. Like the Switch can be those, and then make a new 3D one. Like it can be done. It can be done.
It can be done. It's been done, and I think you could do even better.
Well, and the thing is like games like Demon Souls and Dark Souls and stuff clearly have inspiration from Castlevania games. Of like,
for sure,
go through here, get more powerful, come back, do something else. Like
And I mean, and the other thing I'll say as far as Lords of Shadow goes, and I think this is why that game resonated with me more, and it's a spoiler, but the game's 12 years old at this point, so who cares? I think the reason that first game resonated with me so much is it was a reboot to the point that you played the origin of Dracula in that series. That was your character. His character became Dracula, and I thought that was so incredible at the time. Like, just a crazy twist at the end of that game. One of the best like end game after credits cutscenes.
The other reason to make it 3D on those consoles and not do 2D is because, like you talked about before, like we're getting another Bloodstained game. Do not compete.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do not try to compete with a game that perfected your formula because it was made by the guy who made your game. So don't
exactly.
So don't try to compete with the guy who made Castlevania. Make a 3D one which can be objectively different.
And I'm also saying too, like, you don't have to make it in a God of War style either, like Lords of Shadow Wish. You can do something completely different.
Put it in the mansion,
but yeah, absolutely
do that.
Start in the forest, get to the castle.
Make it.
That's what
make it Castlevania 1, but a 3D Castlevania game would be awesome.
No, make it 2. Make me go kneel next to that mountain.
Look for the tornado comes down. What's up? Hold the gem.
Exactly.
Day-night cycle.
But yeah,
fuck it.
Absolutely, reboot it. That's what I would
just
like
call
to
it
see.
Castlevania. Weird.
There you go.
Model idea.
Weird.
Final email. This actually came in today. A game recommendation. We haven't had one, I think, in a couple episodes. This comes from Fred from Kansas City, Kansas. He says, "Hey guys, I got a game recommendation for you, and it's One Piece Odyssey. I'm not a huge anime person, and I have not seen much of this specific anime, but it's an RPG and it's quite awesome. And the best part is that there is a demo you can try. That's what hooked me. Love the podcast." So I obviously I'm the person that pulls the emails. I saw this. I actually downloaded the demo. I've not played it yet.
I'm gonna go do it,
but I'm gonna try the demo.
Yeah.
I think some of the staff that works on Dragon Quest games worked on this game.
That's cool.
It's very similar to Dragon Quest from what I've read, and it has the same art style.
Yeah, and
it's turn-based.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Like, again, like the anime thing, like I watched.
Just give it a shot.
I gave it a shot when it came out. Like, not when it came out, but like a long time ago. And watched like the first 30 or 40 episodes, and I'm just like, man. Like,
and here's what I'll say. I'll try the demo. Yeah. If it's good, I'll wait till like April when nothing's coming out. It'll be on sale.
Yeah.
I'll play.
There will be a point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there'll be a point where I want an RPG or something. Like, I know a friend of mine is really interested in it. He's going to get it, so maybe I'll have him tell me more.
Absolutely.
What it's about, but it's definitely something that it's if something's going to make me play a One Piece game, it was it being a turn-based RPG. If it was like an
exactly thing. Because there's been other ones too.
Yeah, and I'm like, it doesn't need to be like a Muso game like you would probably think it might be. It's a turn-based RPG with anime elements and Dragon Quest stuff. Like Dragon Quest 11 is one of the best RPGs of the past decade.
For real,
by far. That's a recommendation for people who like RPGs. If you like,
there you go,
RPGs and just for whatever reason have never played a Dragon Quest game,
and you can play that.
Yeah,
11
system.
11 is so good. Yeah.
It's on everything.
I kind of want to replay it because I never played like the S version.
The S version has that like 2D thing you can do. I want to see what that's
cool.
So
it's so good. But the One Piece thing, I'm gonna go do the demo for sure. Because
I'm gonna try the demo.
I'm interested.
So, but that ends our emails. As always, thank you for all the emails you sent in. You can always send your emails to podcast572@gmail.com.
They can be about anything. We don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like just
we don't care.
For sure.
You want to talk to us about GameStop? Absolutely. You want to talk to us about, a game recommendation? Whatever. Send it in.
Talk about a time you got kicked out of a store for being a jerk.
I'll give you a good one right here. If you're somebody out, because I just learned about this today, if you're somebody out there that's tried that new Sierra Mist replacement, Starry, tell me about it. I want to know.
Have you tried it, man?
Because I'm really intrigued. I have not.
Dude.
You've tried it?
Fucking delightful. It's fucking delightful.
Yeah, I want to get it. I told him I want to get a 20 before I buy a thing of it.
I went to Walmart today when I was running errands, and I saw it, and I out of the corner of my eye, I saw Starry, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is. This is some new Walmart shit. And I came home and I saw some internet Coke, or is it Pepsi? I think it's Pepsi. Sierra Mist with Starry. I'm like, fuck, I should have bought that.
Dude, I think we can all agree it was trash. So
was not great.
It was not great. This one right here,
more citrusy, like it says.
Yeah, this one hits a little bit better than C. Definitely hits a lot better. And I drank. So I'm a zero sugar person.
Me too.
Yeah. Me too. At this point,
and this is probably, for me, I think it's better than Sprite. Like, this has
Okay,
more of a
really?
citrus flavor.
Sprite has a zero now too. Have you
Okay.
had Sprite Zero? It's pretty good.
I have, and it's not bad.
Yeah.
But
It's not bad.
I would drink this now over Sprite Zero.
Interesting. Okay.
For sure. This one is
I will
fire.
say, like, as someone who is a zero sugar now person, just because I kind of need to be.
Yeah.
These companies have really figured this stuff out. Like, zero sugar.
Oh,
is
sure.
fun.
Sure.
Cherry Coke Zero
Phenomenal.
is fantastic.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. So good. I can't drink regular Coke.
No, Cherry Coke Zero, I prefer it. And
film.
And you know what I had the other day too was I had Pitch Black is back.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
And there's a zero.
There's
a zero now, which is pretty good.
So I'll ask a quick question. So I finally saw the alcoholic Mountain Dew in the store the other day. Is that all zero sugar?
I'm pretty sure it's all zero.
Yeah.
Okay, because they all said zero sugar. I'm like,
I've had it.
Cool.
It's,
I need you to send me one.
Oh, that's right. You probably don't have it, right?
You don't have that down there yet.
I don't.
Okay.
So, like, go
they
ahead
had
and
all
buy
4 flavors.
Yeah, grab them all 4. Put them in that box with that mic you keep trying to send me.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah. I'll do it. I'll give you
a quick tier ranking of me for those.
Okay, you tried all 4.
I bought the mixed box because like I'm gonna drink them all. Okay. And do the shit. Black cherry is my favorite, but I love black cherry stuff. A lot of people don't.
I do too.
Yeah.
Watermelon, regular, Baja Blast, hard. It tastes funny. Like there's something about it.
Okay.
It's not right.
Okay.
But the other 3 are good.
I will go for the black cherry.
Yeah, black cherry is good.
Okay.
If you're gonna get one, get that one. If you like black cherry stuff.
Yeah. Send your emails in podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will see you again in 2 weeks for another episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.